Didn't you get a camcorder?
I did. It's right here. Doesn't work well inside of buildings.
Oh.
It's more for, well, it's an action cam, so it's built for specific
Is it
purposes.
for like outside lighting or something?
Yes.
Or, okay.
So it's for...
I was like, what does it have, like a signal block to the satellites it has to link up to?
No, it has
What do you mean in buildings?
It has really bad lighting control, so it can't, like, it doesn't have a... like phones and regular camcorders have a better white balance kind of thing for indoors, but that camera works better for outdoor lighting. So the best I can do to make it visible is turn it into night. Like tell it to record in the night, because if I put it, the lighting we have right now, which is natural light from the window and then the light from up here, I did a test recording with it and it was almost as if no lights existed in the universe. So my only option was to just not use that.
Yeah, it's real bitty.
Yeah, it's real small.
This is like a camera you'd put on like a Hot Wheel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, action cameras are meant for the ridiculous. That's like usually those are the kind of cameras you see taking video on the stupidest stuff, like people doing backflips off of a boat.
I like how its screen clearly looks like an iPad screen too, to the point of having the little like weird bar on one side.
Yeah, you know what?
Like it's so specific, it looks like a downscaled iPad.
The thing that weirds me out is, because I went to Best Buy to see which one, like I just wanted to look at all the models and see what felt solid, what wasn't crap, before I bought one on Prime Day. And I realized that every single camera, action cam, even when I went to most of the camcorders that are like not like $2,000, because I'm not a professional, is all of the proof that it's recording is always behind.
Yep.
It never shows. There's not even phones don't do it. Not a single thing shows you.
Do they not even have like a red light anymore?
This one does. It's on the side.
It's on the back side only?
Yeah, on the back side only.
They just don't get this premise that you might point a camera at something and the person using the camera might be on front of it.
They do.
And that there'd be like a red light you'd want to be able to see if it's recording.
So they get that premise and they decided to turn it into a feature.
That you have to like get as a bonus.
You have to buy a camera that has a flippable screen.
That is one thing, yeah. The camcorders that are like tube shaped and then their screen comes out the side and rotates and shit.
That's their replacement idea for instead of having an indicator
instead of just having a
light?
red light.
Yeah.
Like most cameras had.
They replaced the red light.
All right, cool.
Yeah, they decided, oh, well, if we just sell it as a selfie camera and make it so you have to pay for the flippable screen, then we can remove the red dot in the front and now people have to buy selfie cameras.
That can't have been an expensive part of the camera.
The flippable screen?
The light.
Oh no! It's not that it was expensive. It's just if you take it away,
like
the only option.
What a douchey thing to just take away from things is the recording light.
Well, you act like that, but I mean, that's the least douchiest thing I've seen done to an electronic.
Everything's getting worse all the time. By the way, I come to you today, Andrew, pre-angry.
Pre-angry?
Yeah.
I come to you today with no feeling at all. So we're the opposite.
You look numb and sad.
I am mostly numb and sad every day, but I have nothing to be angry about today.
I had a lot to be angry about today. Not real problems, just like the last hour of my life was angry things.
What is real problems versus...
I rarely have real problems besides just the general state of being part of the millennial generation, which we've just spent literally like 5 hours discussing on this podcast. That's a recurring subject.
Well, I mean, when you are part of something, it tends to be something you talk about. Yeah.
No, this is just...
Which I would say is funny.
This is just me being exposed to media and not being a happy participant in the process.
Whose media?
The radio.
Ah, the radio.
Yeah. So you'll remember that a few weeks ago my iPod Touch broke.
Yeah. And
that was how I was listening to all my podcasts. I'd need to just set up my phone to have like pre-downloaded up podcasts or something so I can do that.
Well,
I just need to go bother with that whole thing.
Does your phone have, or your car have like Bluetooth connectivity? Or do you have to plug it in?
I'm not sure.
If it
has like a button.
Okay.
And it has a menu I've opened, and I've literally never been able to connect it to my phone, and I can't tell why. And it's really hard to Google why won't my specific car Bluetooth correctly.
Do you have the user manual for the car?
I've gone through a few annoying steps trying to set it up, and it's never panned out. Like literally, just making them notice each other is like a thing I have not been able to do.
I want to say if it has a connection for the car, it's usually for hands-free speaking. It's usually just for talking.
For the last few weeks, because I was broken, what I've been doing is I've been going into my podcast backlog playlist on YouTube and I sent that to my. I've been just going through that on my phone, and I've just been literally just having my phone run that playlist while I'm just driving in the car to and from here.
Unideal, but okay.
Because it's just. Yeah, it's literally playing off the speaker because I can't get the fucking Bluetooth to connect. But, you know, I have like the that part that's like it's in front of the shifter. There's like that little pocket in the front of your car.
Oh, yeah.
I guess some people it's a cup holder. For me, there's just like a pocket space that also has like...
Cup. Are you talking about a cup holder or are you talking about the thing that's in front of it?
No, I have a cup holder like right here, but in front of it there's just like an opening. It has like one or two like ports for things.
Oh, that's for wallet and phone.
So I just set my phone there and it's playing through the backlog of podcasty videos on YouTube.
Yep.
And because its back is to that weird opening, it's like a speaker because it significantly increases in volume and listenability. Yeah. So I've been going with that, but because I don't have money, I have like shitty plans. So like I have like a 2 gigabyte cap on data for mobile.
I was like,
so I hit my cap. And I'm like, cool. So goodbye to mobile. Like I was actually talking to Wander.
Out of curiosity, just like, is it impossible? Are the podcasts you listen to not on any kind of other form of media?
No, this is me being dumb and needing to like actually set up podcasting as a platform on my phone because I haven't yet.
Okay.
So I've just been lazily playing my backlog.
Oh, okay.
But I hit my data cap like a couple days ago when I was coming through town for another reason, and so today I was like, I don't have any of my entertainment set up, but I'm about to drive for an hour to Andrews, so. Let's turn on the radio. Which like dude, they stroke out so fast. It was such a mistake. Because first of all,
just listen to NPR. It's like the least strokeable channel.
I don't know radio stations because I haven't had to look for one for so long.
I would say call Joe, but he's in Japan.
Yeah,
that's all Joe did. Every time I got in his car, it was only NPR.
NPR probably would have been better. In fact, I have listened to NPR podcasts.
Yeah,
it's been mainly Radiolab and This American Life.
Yeah, NPR is really great because it's very mellow.
Yeah.
And most of the time, if there's anything sensational, and
it's not an infinite loop of the last 3 decades repeating forever.
Oh, you mean music-wise?
Which is what? Because guess what? Yeah. Guess what the only fucking station is I know nowadays in this area?
107.9? The end?
No, 98 Rock.
Oh, 98.5.
98 Rock is like mental poison.
You also have 95.7, which is country, I think, and then
I should have tried that. No, what happened is, first of all, they're already pissing me off because they're just playing the songs.
Yeah.
Like, not just like music. They're not like exploring genres or checking out music. They're playing the songs. And when I say the songs, I mean like the type of shit that plays when you watch like Percy Jackson and the Olympians or whatever, that fucking movie.
Yeah.
They're like, looks like we're on the highway to hell. And then they just start playing Highway to Hell while they're walking down a highway. I'm like, what the fuck? Who wrote this?
Yeah.
We're going to a casino and it plays Poker Face. And you're like, who the fuck made this script and who's choosing the songs? Or I guess like the entire intro of Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Like every song is like, oh man, there's a character who's like a Diablo man, but also you're supposed to feel bad for him. We're going to play Sympathy for the Devil, and like all that shit, or like that. It's like the entire drive was just
musical
like,
puns, more or less.
Yeah, like they were playing like here's AC/DC, and here's like every other like really obvious mega popular song that we all got sick of 40 years ago.
Go on Spotify and just type in like whatever genre you listen to, and then well,
the premise here is I can't Spotify because no mobile data.
No, I mean as in like an average person that doesn't understand what we're talking about. Go on to Spotify, type in like 80s rock,
and you'll get better than what 98 Rock will play for you.
Mostly, but I mean 98 Rock's going to take at least like 50% of that list and recycle it. What
happened though is they struck out even harder.
98 Rock?
Because then they started... Because there's another problem with this stuff, which is that there's a specific brand of shitty butt rock that they love to play. That's like this weird mush that is the area that's roughly between like Breaking Benjamin and Five Finger Death Punch. This like old band where every band sounds exactly the same, and they all have the same voice filter that makes them sound kind of gravelly but kind of echoey and kind of strong, but they all sound like the same singer in every single band.
Yeah.
And their instruments are just... just the same fucking sound range every single time, to the point where I literally can't tell if it's different bands because it's that garbage. But they're playing songs I really like.
Oh, they're
covering. I'm like, no, don't do this. Like some of my favorite songs are having like all personality stripped from them so they could be butt rock. Like they played what is it? Five Finger Death Punch played Gone Away by Offspring. like really mournful song.
Okay.
And fucking, I don't even know if it was Five Finger Death Punch again or some other band, but they did Zombie by the Cranberries. Now imagine that song with all of its weird quirks and its alternative influences and shit,
rock?
and it being butt rock.
That's...
You bet your ass they skip the entire weird vocal part that happens in that song and just delete it from the entire thing. Welcome to iPad sounds.
Sorry, I have no reason or no understanding why notification is on for a tablet. I never...
Dude, I get surprised all the time, but like my phone will just start making noises again, and I'm like, I don't know why you started making noises for some reason.
I'm under the impression that like I must say something, and there's just some kind of hidden command I'm not aware of that phones will like. I
don't know.
I could say like, man, I really love the sound of something, and it just sound on, all volume, turn to 100, and it's like,
I just put my phone down during a recording, and I was like, gonna record, and then like 5 minutes in the recording, I hear congratulations, because like some website I was on redirected to like a scammy like congratulations thing, and I'm like, why are you making sounds, phone? You weren't supposed to make sounds.
This isn't part of the deal.
But no, what finally set me off listening to the station wasn't the shitty music, but actually hearing the hosts speak, because they spoke.
What time is it? Oh man, it was probably the Doghouse, wasn't it?
No.
Who was it?
It was like interstitials.
Ooh,
where they just jump in to be like 10 seconds of funny or whatever.
It's called
with Rob, Arnie, and Don, which I don't know which one's which except for Don. But it wasn't
Rob, Arnie, and Don.
But it wasn't Don. Is it not?
No.
They all sound the same, so I can't tell anymore.
Well, it's Rob. Or it's Rob and Don, I think is what it's changed to now.
Oh, so it's just Rob?
Yeah, Arnie.
I guess it was Rob then.
It was probably Rob.
Yeah, because there's no one.
Rob
or
Arnie's kicked off. Like he got kicked.
Yeah, so
so much drama you missed.
Rob burned a fucking bridge with me today.
Well, he is like he's like, very hardcore conservative.
I think he's a sociopath.
Well,
like just a garbage human.
He's rich. Which is like that again.
Which is like a form of sociopath.
He's a rich conservative, so it's not real. There's not really much to.
So like
I'm assuming he said some like kind of hot take.
He just tried to interrupt my 5 seconds of music to just be like, "Hey, just so you know, I'm a garbage person, and this person, this entire place is giving me a platform to be like this, and that's like how this works."
It's actually worse than that.
Like,
it's like, that place relies on his platform to function. Like if Rad Radio, because it's easier to say,
like he managed to do something that was like both dismissive of someone's death and kind of racist and just a whole bunch of other different things.
Yeah,
like he was basically like being Rick from Rick and Morty for a second, but in real life.
I mean, he kind of is.
We're like, yeah,
that's like literally who he is.
So like, he told a story that happened in China where there was two.
Wait, were you listening to Rad or were you? Because it's way past. No, they get off the air at
I was listening to just. I was literally. It was just an interstitial.
Was it? Did he say it was Rob?
The entire thing was like 6 seconds long. It sounded exactly like one of the people from that show back then, but it's radio voices, so it's fucking hard to tell because they're filtered and shit.
Then it was Arnie. Yeah. Because it's that would Arnie then because it's Arnie's the one.
They're still on the same station despite the split or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's the one that does. There's a gravelly, deeper one, and then there's the one that sounds like he wears polo shirts. That's the way to describe
the one that sounds like he wears polo shirts is Rob, and the one that sounds gravelly is Arnie.
I heard the one that was like higher and shit.
I believe that's Arnie. I think Rob talks in a lower voice.
He was telling a story of what happened in China, where apparently there was 2 workers, and one of them, as a joke, went with like an air compressor and just went with like shooting the gas, and he shot the other guy's butt, and it's like over clothes and everything. Like this wasn't like a weird thing going on.
He didn't stick it up his ass. Yeah.
And he died.
Yes.
Like
dead
somehow,
like instantly.
He felt woozy and then hours later died. And it was like some weird it was like a freak accident, like horrible thing. And the way he presents the story is that this guy shot this other guy with gas and then he died, and it's like, ha, what a Darwinian way to go, and then it just cuts out. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm just saying, like, ha 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 ha, he died. That's funny, isn't it? I'm like, what is just in the middle of the day we're just supposed to laugh that somebody died horribly in a freak accident?
Yeah, you're listening to. You're listening to 98 Rock. What the hell do you think the general demographic is?
I'm concerned. I'm concerned about what like their general state of mind is. Because here's the scenario that's as told by this story. It was one random like micro prank during a work day, the type of shit that always happens in shops anyway, with a seemingly non-dangerous thing. We have one person who's dead, so they have an entire family that's mourning their death. And another person who has accidentally murdered someone they know via what seemed like a harmless action and now has to live with that for the rest of their lives, that they're the guy who killed that guy. Like, that's the scenario painted by this story.
Yeah.
And nothing about this paints any of them as being like a bad person or even a stupid person or even anything like that. It was literally a freak accident that killed someone. And in the middle of the day, I'm just supposed to like laugh at that because what? Because they're Chinese or something? Is that the funny part?
No,
I literally can't tell.
The funny part is because
literally just because there was a butt.
Yeah.
And so that makes it funny that someone died?
Well, I mean, 98 Rock subscribes to more of like the Adam Sandler view of comedy, where it's like, ha, girl with big tits is hot, and ha, like, boy guy fell down.
Worrying.
No, it's really not.
I hate it.
Because when was the last time you listened to 98 Rock?
It's been a long time.
Like how long?
I can't tell you.
Have you listened to it in the past 5 years?
Probably not.
Have you listened to it in the past 10 years?
Probably.
Okay.
Because, I mean, at some point, Quad died. And I had to deal with the fact that I was working at the shop with radio as my only option. So I listened to things that weren't Quad because Quad was dead. And for some of that was probably 98 Rock, which is real hard to get through.
Because as far as I know, I've been listening to 98 Rock since high school. Mm-hmm. It has never changed. It has literally been that sense of humor, that crappy music rotation, and awful host forever.
I don't understand it.
It's easy. I told you the demographic is like
it was really weird because I just hit next on the radio thing, and it took me to another station, and I was just guessing. I thought it might be like a top 40 station because I was hoping for a top 40 station because it was just going to play garbage but it's garbage I've never heard before. Yeah. So at the very least, it'd be new stuff. So I could at least get through a drive of hearing new music instead of the same like AC/DC songs repeating for 40 years. Yeah. And that was my goal. Like, and maybe maybe it'd be like a fun surprise. Like, I like the song Radioactive. Maybe I'll find a new song that I like that. Yeah. The pile of shit that I don't like. Started noticing all the lyrics were really weirdly non-specific, like people talking about struggles, but not really talking about like what their struggles were. But also they weren't talking about any violence or sex or anything like that. And I was like, slowly, and then I reached the second consecutive song that used the phrase "as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death," and it clicked for me. Like, this is a Christian station. I found the Christian station. Yeah. And what really made me realize is that there was an interstitial where they were like, "What do you call a polar bear in the desert? Lost." And it's like, okay, this is the adjacent station to the one that's laughing at dead people. It's the one that's like telling like 5-year-old joke books. And I'm like, you know what? This is better. It's fine. This is an improvement, frankly.
Better?
It's better than AC/DC looping forever and like rampant cynicism.
I think I would have just turned off the radio.
And like dismissal of all fellow human beings and so on.
Well, on your way home, I would recommend going to 95.3 KUIC, which has none of that. Yeah, I mean, it has crappy music, but at least it has.
They're not weird nightmare people.
None of that, yeah. Because the people who show up,
I'm not used to hosts. Really, like,
he says, being a host.
No, well, I mean, like, because I listened to one radio station for like 10 years, or at least all of high school and middle school.
95.3 KUIC.
No. 107.5 quad.
Oh, 107.5.
Yeah. It was
the end, you mean?
No. But we'll get into that, won't we? Because like we used to have this nice station that would play stuff like Paramore and Weezer and Offspring and Green Day and All Time Low and Rodrigo y Gabriela and it would sometimes just go into weirder directions and play like the Pixies and so on and so forth. And I guess they crashed and burned hard around the time I was in college. Yeah. Because it just decimated and ceased to exist. And that station now is like all day, every day, like 90s hits. Yep. So it's like, come, my lady, come, my lady. You're my butterfly, sugar. It's like buzz cuts. Yeah. Just forever. It's like, I don't know. That's not great.
You can try 108.7.
We're learning things today.
108.7, which I think is
do you know what quad did when it was dying?
What it did?
Yeah.
No.
It's a vent. No. That was a fun time to be listening to the radio.
I didn't listen to 107.9. I listened to only 98 Rock.
It's like 107.5
or I listened to my MP3 player.
This fantastic period when it was dying, and they knew they were dying, so like, fuck it, let's just do whatever we want. Yeah. So one of the things they did is they made a list of the top 100 alternative albums of all time. And so
sounds like a lot of work, but okay.
And so what they did is every day in like the middle of the workday, they would just play that album. Just front to back, no commercials, just an entire album of alternative. And then they'd move on to the next one the next day. And they're just going
So they were like counting down their death with a top 100 list?
Yeah. And it was great because one of the gimmicks of radio is that because they're trying to maintain audienceship all the time, is that like if you don't like this particular song, whatever, the next one will be some other band from another decade, so don't go away, stick with us, and all that other stuff. So it was fun having like
radio is such a weird
this is a weird panic thing.
It's like a weird
it's one of our first live streams we've had to deal with, basically.
What is the
it's kind of like how live news is constantly like showing you one news story while constantly hinting like 50 other news stories to keep you watching, and like audio do that. Like in the Christian station I was listening to, they teased a song that's going to play 3 songs from now. Like that kind of shit's happening to keep you going.
The problem I have is like the general user for a radio is not somebody you can pander to in that sense, because like you usually listen to the radio as you're driving because phones tend to not have radios
in
them.
It's like a captive audience feeling.
Yeah, but
which is kind of what I was doing today, where I'm like, I gotta listen to something, otherwise I'm just gonna listen to.
But the problem is that when you do like say advertisements or hinting song, hooks trying to keep you in.
Yeah.
How do you do that when the person's like, I arrived at my destination? It's like, no, please stay. It's like I can't just sit in my car.
They're just trying to control your captive time.
That's what I'm saying.
Like during the periods where you're captive and have to listen and are trying to listen to something, they're just trying to make you not switch the station the moment something happens you don't like.
And I get it, but I'm saying like think about this in the sense of like a business aspect where you're saying, okay, we want to put commercials in. It's like, so you have to work the most ludicrous commercial deal out because you're like, all right, literally everyone on the planet
had to be like wacky and entertaining or like and all that.
Come on down to Nissan Toyota, and we're gonna sell you a car.
I got sick of so many commercials like over those years, but they have to be try to be wacky and creative and or funny or something.
But I'm thinking,
or you'll switch them off.
I'm thinking in the weird concept, which I always do. But I'm thinking in the weird concept of like when you're making a business plan for when you want, because in television it's easy. Television is really easy to sell ad space for because every show has a set amount of time and then every show has slots that you could put commercials in. But the problem is that like radio doesn't kind of work that way because it's music. So
although even radio has like time slots to some extent of like certain shows and everything.
Well, yeah, but the other problem
is all like a strategic move because like sometimes people aren't always in the mood for like music in the morning, so like for the morning commute they have like the talk shows, stuff like that. They're like, or like there'll be one of the 50 channels that are all rebroadcasting the Adam Carolla show or whatever. And so the weird problem is like you have to then try to condense as many commercials as you can within a set amount of time that the most amount of people will listen to the radio, which is commute hours. So between the hours of like between the hours of like 6 a.m. to like 10 a.m. is just you just gotta push as many commercials as you can in there. And then from like 4 p.m. to like 8 p.m., just as many as you can in there. But then there's like this nice, beautiful dead space in between where commercials. It's just shows.
Yeah. Like once you get to like, especially 98 Rock, once you get past like 8 o'clock, they usually have like about 9 or 10, they'll have no commercials, just listen to music for like 3 hours. I'm like, oh, I guess because no one listens at this time. Like
there's a whole thing where just when you're stuck with, when you're programmed to be familiar with all like how radio stations normally work. Yeah. It's just such a trip to have your radio station be like, yeah, we're just going to play this whole album.
Yeah. Sounds weird.
Like, this is cool. I had the experience of listening to 2 entire Pixies album on live broadcast.
Yeah, that's not normal. That's not how that works.
It's exceptionally rare to hear a Pixies song on the radio ever. Well, and it's always "Where Is My Mind" over and over again, and it's usually covers of that song instead of the real ones.
I mean, again, it's who you're sending the music to are generally people who aren't like if you're listening to the radio, it's probably because you don't have good taste in music or you're in a desperate situation, so you're not the target audience.
It's fun to be like, no, fuck that shit. We're gonna play 2 Pixies albums this week. We're gonna play an entire Hives album. We're going to play an entire Vines album, an entire White Stripes album. Like, yeah, this is good. Can we keep this? And then they were gone because they were only doing that because they were literally dying.
Then it became
and could do whatever they wanted.
Yeah. And the end became what? I think the end is like mostly some crap rock and rap music is what 107 is now. It's like you turn there and you got to be careful because you either turn there and it's like because of the fucking rap music, or it's just like, and you're like, butt rock, great, okay, well, turn on. Why is the station's a landmine?
It was really amazing to switch from a station that was like, ha ha ha, he died, to like a station that ran a story about somebody who put a bunch of encouraging notes and like reaffirming notes along a bridge to try to stop people from jumping. Like, that's the difference between what people say on 98 Rock versus whatever the Christian one is that's a few points higher on the
Are you
FM.
trying to say that the radio is just like a live streaming version of Twitter?
It's literally like seeing two parts of Twitter, like, just right next to each other. That whole experience.
It's like those screenshots you'll see people post where it's like one person's like, I hope you have a great day, and then there's like another screenshot, it's like, I wish I was dead, and it's like, okay, well, Twitter is definitely a variable grounds of opinions. But yeah, that's radio is like cable, where I feel bad for the people in the industry, but you need to go. Like, you need to leave. We as a society have evolved past your whatever garbage this is, and we would prefer if you just didn't happen anymore. Because now all it's become is
I just want the personalities to go away.
Well, that's the thing. They have to, like,
I just want the radio.
But all the, like, television.
Like, I don't remember a personality on Quad ever. Might be why it's gone.
Yeah,
like, unfortunately,
television and radio have like doubled down on their survivability, so they're like putting the worst. They're falling into like the worst traps of being sensational and being like kind of like those 5-minute YouTube prank videos where it has to be like blah, 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 and you have to like you're like trying
to make you laugh or engage in a story in only like a 5-second interstitial.
They're trying to distract people from driving, which is like the weirdest concept. But like television is different, but it's the same concept where you can watch, like you said, the news channel. You're watching a news channel. It's like, well, there's a dog that managed to get stuck in a well, but people died earlier today. We'll get to that at 5. And the dog managed to get. It's like, what the fuck?
And this duck is a funny hat.
Yeah, and it's like then you'll switch to something, and it's like the most depressing thing you ever heard, and it's like, but don't worry, guys. There's a grandma who just finished college coming up next, and you're like, what the fuck? It's like news on TV is the most. She was
in college for the last 60 years.
Like news on TV is the most bipolar shit I've ever seen. You will watch something and it's catastrophic or depressing, and then it will switch to something very calm and mellowing, and it will be like that for like 2 stories, and then it will be like, breaking news, everyone's dead, and it's like. Wow, what about the grandma? Oh, she's also dead. It's like, well,
we have the weirdest news moments whenever I go to my mom's house, because they'll always have like Fox News on, and I'll just start laughing uncontrollably at something, and I'm not
at everything because everything is uncontrollably laughable.
I won't even be doing it on purpose. It's just like either the president or one of the hosts will say something so staggeringly stupid and inherently funny that I can't not immediately laugh.
Yeah,
and I'm not like. Outside of Let's Plays, I actually don't laugh that often in a lot of situations.
I don't really know. I feel like the general majority of people don't just laugh for no reason.
I don't usually just start laughing out of nowhere, but oh god, because like one of the ones was like they were just like glaring at me too, because like I couldn't stop, because it was the time where Fox News read Trump's tweet on the air, and he was like, "I'm like really smart." Was like that one tweet.
A human reading that in a serious tone as news sounds amazing.
Like, that tweet, right? I'm probably paraphrasing it, but like there was like there was like a comma pause, really smart in like the thing, and it's like that's the funniest fucking thing to hear the president say.
It's funny because that's why it's funny on so many levels, because one, it's a quote from the president. It's not like it's not
unfiltered directly to the internet. You didn't, but it's also like the funniest, like lacking in self-awareness. Yeah, like it can't not make you look like a jackass.
Yeah, it's clearly lacking in self-awareness. It's being read in a serious manner by a television host as if it is like news.
A television host that I'll remind you is specifically one that is like programmed in the background there to specifically not make him look silly and be siding with him all the time.
Yes.
So they have to read it seriously.
They have to read it seriously.
Yeah.
And then 4...
They can't laugh about it, or they'll be replaced by someone with a similar demographic.
You know what I always wondered? What happens if you start just like firing people at Fox News? Does it eventually devolve into the point where they just hire skinheads and that's like all they can find to work at the place?
They'll always replace it with a slightly different version of that person.
That's what I mean.
It's like you go into character generator calculator and you go like, I'm going to be from this specific country and this age, and then for everything else you just hit random, and it just keeps reshuffling the features within that range. Like that's how they replace hosts on a news station. Is that they need to keep the same demographics in the same spot, so they'll find similar people each time. No, I get it. I've seen that enough times where that is like multiple tiers of funny. Yeah, and you can't just. The only reason you wouldn't laugh is because you are in that mindset where you think it's a serious thing you need to take seriously, and that is so concerning because I don't think there's ever been a tweet I've read from Trump that didn't make me laugh. Because it happens a lot. Like they are all the most amazing, insane things ever. And the only reason that the Zap Brannigan memes are incredible. Where you just take Trump tweets and you just put them with the picture of Zap Brannigan to imply that he's saying them. It usually works really well. Did you see the one that people have been circulating recently where they just took the quote from the Eminem song? And it's the one where the guy wrote the letter into Eminem's like, "Dear Mr." It fits because that's how he talks. "Dear Mr. Shady, I wrote you twice. You still ain't saying nothing." Yeah, it's that quote, but it has Donald. It has a really good song, by the way. It is, but it fits. That letter sounds like something Trump would write, and it's amazing because you could do that with so many like absurdist things. But then you like. I think I've never seen a person that blends so well into insanity that you can just. You could take a Trump or a tweet that is legitimately something he wrote and put it in front of me, and I couldn't tell you if he actually wrote it or not. No. I don't know anymore. Which that happened to me for a second earlier. Oh, really? There's the caps lock, him yelling at Iran thing that happened. But the first time I saw it, somebody edited it to make fun of his behavior with Putin. If you challenge us again, then I'm going to invite you to a nice dinner and talk about how great you are and how strong you are. And it's like that kind of stuff. Like, 'cause he keeps... I've never had a president that I literally can't take seriously, which is terrifying because the situation's like kind of important. I don't know. I don't think I could take Bush or Clinton seriously, but I think I couldn't take them seriously for various reasons. I've never had this problem before. There's definitely been like it's easy to, like Bush in particular was like somebody that was like. It was easy to like caricature him and stuff like that. I don't think it was easy to caricature. I think he caricatured himself pretty damn well. Well, like he was still like a presentable president on some level. Well, I mean, and they generally all have been. Specifically with Trump, like, he's a cartoon. Well, what is this? The way he talks about himself, where he talks about like he's got the best everything, and like he claims to be an expert of every field that's ever existed, including ones that don't exist. And like he'll claim to know about like it's okay, Keith. He'll just make up a field like Space Force. He'll claim to be knowledgeable about countries that don't exist. Like, like he's a cartoon character. It's incredible to watch, and like he's just like a weird fraud man. It's incredible. Oh, yeah. Like he doesn't even have like a platform. No. Like he just mobilized angry people to vote for him. And like every time he'll literally go into a meeting with one idea, come out of the meeting with the opposite idea, because he just repeats whatever people say to him, basically, because he's just trying to get through this in one piece because he doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah. And it's one of the most accurate jokes ever by South Park ever is the whole Mr. Garrison accidentally becoming president and be like, fuck. Yeah. Now what do I do? This wasn't supposed to work. Like the whole part where he's trying to specifically not be president. Yeah. Like he's trying to sabotage his own election because like, no, what the fuck? I'm not supposed to make it this far. Yeah. Like, and it's like, that's, I've been watching that play out in real life and I'm like, what is this man? You know what concerned me the most is that, about the South Park one is that it was coming out weekly. So it was coming out weekly, as in, like, these weren't pre-written episodes. It's not like they had this whole Mr. Garrison storyline. They have the whole crazy thing happening where South Park makes shit live. Yeah, but the problem is every fucking episode was almost a precursor to the things coming. Like, they would have stuff on the episode of, like, Mr. Garrison acting deranged in a specific way, and then Trump would act deranged, like, almost as if for some reason Trump was watching it and going, that's how to win. That's how to act. They know what they're doing. It's like, it's a caricature of you because you're that what? Like, do you think he even wants a second term? No. Do you think he'll run? Yes. He has to run. He has to run. He has to prove himself. Yes. No one wants to be like the first president since Bush Sr. to have one term.
Well, the first Republican, at least.
Well, Clinton had 2 terms. The fuck was that?
Clinton.
Something just fall off the wall?
Yeah,
is that the entire alien thing?
Yeah.
That's a large object.
That's fine.
Was that in frame?
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, that's not normally in here. You moved that from the other room.
Yeah.
Not very well. Because it didn't last. It definitely lasted less than a week at the very least.
Oh, because what's it called? Broke. The attack I had it on broke.
That was startling.
Yeah, I was like, how did it even fall? It was securely up there. But...
So Clinton had a second term almost. Like, he got elected.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
Well, he wasn't able to follow through because of a whole, impeachment.
How long was Clinton president? It's like so far back that's harder to remember.
6 years, I think?
Yeah.
I think it was 6 years he was president.
Huh.
Because he did... When was the... What's it called?
This is the most weirdly political podcast.
Yeah, I can't... I'm trying to remember. I can't remember exactly how long it was. I want to say it was 6 years that he was president, though.
Yeah.
Because I think he managed to go through his first year after re-election, and then I think the second year was when all the scandal happened. So I think he performed sexual relations in the first year of presidency, or he got caught in the first year, and then the investigation finished in his second year.
We've come so far.
No. Surprisingly, we've kept the status quo.
We got rid of Clinton because of sexual relations, but then
we hired a guy who did sexual relations.
We got a guy who cheats on his wife multiple times with other people's wives and openly admits to bragging about sexual assault.
Yeah,
and we're like, rah rah, let's go, yeah. Make America great again. I'm like, no, we've never had a president that was this level. This is not a return to anything. It's all branding, which is literally his life is branding.
That feel when Taft was actually a good president.
Yeah.
You know what? It's the thing that's more interesting, I think, is if you look at when you open a history book and you're like, tell me all the presidents of the United States, and you can watch
he's gonna be there forever.
But you can watch as it slowly devolves somehow. Like you watch as as soon as World War II ends, it just starts going like somehow, if it was like a stock, it would be okay, it's kind of teetering, and then
part of me wonders how perspective worked back then.
What do you mean perspective?
So it's way. You can constantly look at presidents and think of them as being these things that it's hard to take this president seriously, and this president somehow an insult to all the other presidents and so on and so forth. But what about when we were president 12, back then? Were people also still thinking that back then?
No.
Now we're it's a bunch of people in powdered wigs and bullshit, and they seem cool, and they've been dead for 100 years, so whatever. They were probably all presidential.
They
were out having duels to the death. I don't. American history is fucking weird.
I would say that
I'm trying to remember. Have we had a president that ever died in a duel?
No.
We had a president that killed somebody in a duel.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff happened. I think we might have had a president that died in a duel after they were president.
Do you count?
I don't know. There were duels. People just had duels. That was just a thing.
I mean,
wouldn't recommend.
I would say
One
that
star.
we almost lost. We almost had a president die to a duel because he wasn't aware that the duel had begun, which was Reagan when he got shot by that guy.
That's really fucked up. No. Why did we suddenly start going into edgelord Reagan jokes constantly?
Because we just re-elected Reagan 2.0, the worsening.
It was weird. I was just scrolling through Twitter and I just saw a picture of a Reagan mug, and the joke was that the mug leaks because there was a picture of his face. And I'm like, why is this just on Twitter?
I would actually make a better joke about his...
I think it was a promoted tweet. It wasn't even
Promoted by who?
I don't know.
Who paid money for that?
I think I don't know.
Probably because a company wanted to sell it.
I don't think... it wasn't It wasn't one of the people I'm following, and it wasn't a thing that I retweeted or liked. It was just a weird thing Twitter showed me. I'm like, what the fuck?
If I was making a mug of Reagan, I wouldn't say it leaks. I would definitely say this is the only mug that that is never half full or half empty because it doesn't remember what's in it.
I don't understand.
Reagan had Alzheimer's.
Oh, that's where we're going with this.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't
because near the end of Reagan's presidency, he had severe Alzheimer's. So
it's one of the reasons for term limits because we had to.
No, one of the reasons for term limits is because fascism is not cool.
Yeah, but that wasn't really the reason why we invented term limits. No. Really, it was because of FDR having 4 terms. One guy had 4 terms.
And guess what he did in those terms? He did
he physically degraded until he couldn't be president anymore, among other things.
Well,
because you're starting pretty late if you're talking about presidents to begin with.
Well, he started...
It's a lot later, 4 terms later.
I mean, he started with polio, so degradation is like... I mean, he started already half done. Yeah. But... I don't know. I mean, surprisingly, in the 4 terms he had... I
just remember when, like, McCain was coming around, like, we were talking about, like, a president that was... If he was elected, he was going to be the oldest president ever elected.
Yeah.
And I'm like, 2 terms would be impressive. But think about old term limits where there wasn't one and you could just keep going. Like, if they went for 4, I'm like, would it be 90?
Well, no, but here's the thing.
I guess we're almost there.
But, well...
we're already more than halfway there.
Yeah.
If he had...
well, Trump is, like, in his 70s, isn't he?
He might have been in more stress if he was president, but at least as not president, he has survived the 2 terms he would have had if he did get elected that time.
And now he's got cancer.
Yeah. So... I mean, that's part of being very old. I know, because none of my grandparents are dead.
I feel...
They're just... taking turns having problems.
I was gonna say, I think it's
life's fun.
I think it's less about being old and more about just like you just ran out of luck.
I mean, you're essentially rolling the dice every year, and when you're old, you've rolled the dice a lot, and also they roll more dice.
I was gonna say, I think you're rolling dice every day. Yeah. I think like every day one of your cells is like.
I think it's more like you roll the dice every day, every year, and then the older you get, the more dice they roll.
Every milestone.
It's a really horrible thought experiment.
Every 10-year milestone, it just adds another dice to the field.
Factor in genetics, like the genes make the dice have fewer sides. Like the worse your genes are, the fewer sides there are, and higher chance of landing. It's really fun.
It's worse.
I don't like this topic anymore.
If you do the thought experiment, it gets worse because then you have to account for other dice rolls. Like, what about if you have lead paint? What about asbestos? What about eating things out of the microwave? What about there's so many other things that can also just give you just a little residual, like radiation, residual cancerous material. And it's just like all these dice just keep falling.
What stuff may or may not be killing me. I don't know. Everything I go to has a cancer warning
right
now.
I was about to say, every fucking store in California has a sign that says like, this store will give you cancer. I'm like, what does that mean?
I don't know.
Like, is it the seats? Is it the food? Is it the table?
California has made me afraid of hash browns and power cords. Because every power cord has a cancer warning on it for like a lamp.
Yeah,
like your lamp, you get a lamp, and the plastic cord says cancer warning on it.
That's for the radiation, because all electronic devices emit some small amount of radiation, and increased radiation in your body can lead to cancer. Is there a cancer warning
in our phone within that 500 like things in there?
In your your cell phone?
Yeah.
Yes, your cell phone has like a big fat thing that says like this will guarantee cause cancer.
There's so many pages in that box they give your phone in that it's like, I think it's partly meant to disguise any of the stuff they don't want you to read. Is that there's so many papers that you won't notice.
There's like 4.
There's like 4 manuals and a warranty and like cancer warning and then like plan folders and like they keep adding more and more.
I want to say there's like. I think there's like 2 or 3 major warnings that are part of phones, which is like cancer, hearing loss, and
last time I got my phone, I got an amount of paperwork inside the box with it that rivaled like what came with like the strategy guide that came with the Diablo battle chest.
Yeah,
that thing, like that's what I felt like was coming with my phone. Yeah. I'm like, fuck, man.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, granted, a lot of it is just features, and you think every year phones become more ridiculous. So trying to explain to every grandma, like, here's the settings button, and good luck.
I wonder how many people use those manuals, or if they're like the most wasteful paper in the world or something.
I feel like they get probably like 30% of people who buy a phone use it.
What percentage of printing presses do you think print books versus print like manuals no one opens?
It's
a weird thing to think about, right?
I don't know. Probably like, well, no, there has to be some kind of consolidation. Like I wouldn't imagine a factory's like, I only print books for Samsung phones. Like there has to be a company that
even like percentage wise, like even like the projects of a particular thing. Like what do you think gets printed more? Like actual books or weird manuals that get thrown away?
Probably manuals. You think about every.
To think about, right?
Every like even if I buy a light switch, it comes with a manual. So every mundane thing has a manual. You get if you buy like there I have over there's like the little sheets of printer paper for photo printer paper, comes with a manual.
The paper comes with a manual.
Tells you which side to put it on and all that stuff.
The paper comes with paper.
Yeah. Everything has manuals. It's like here's the thing that makes me laugh though, is that why are manuals a thing for electronic devices, specifically
like on the internet,
like specifically computers, phones, tablets, and I guess that's about it. There's probably some other ones, but like say a tablet, for instance. How just out of curiosity, how big do you think a PDF of a one of those books would be? You think it'd be like 2 megabytes max?
I mean, the PDFs are usually also online.
No, but why isn't it built into my phone?
Because what if it won't turn on?
You can still give me the paper one, but I'm saying, why isn't it just in here?
Yeah.
I have to go get the fucking paper book if I have a question.
So you mean, why isn't there also one in there as opposed to like a replacement?
Why wouldn't it come pre-installed with the goddamn notebook?
To some extent, I kind of think that if it's something that accesses the internet, you could just look at that. You could just look it up. And like the entire, like you can download the instruction manual for like anything.
What if I don't have the internet?
Then consult your physical manual.
But that's the thing. Is like, I just want it on my damn... I bought the fucking tablet.
That's the fun thing, is trying to figure out which stuff to hold on to forever versus just throw away and so on.
Like
you get so much... Every time you get anything, there's so much packaging and so many manuals and so on.
My camera has a manual. Mm-hmm. And I needed it because there was a lot of stuff I didn't understand. One of the things...
Also, that looks like a confusing-ass device because I think it has 2 buttons.
It has 2 buttons.
Yeah.
So, let me... So
it's 2 buttons total.
Yeah, it has 2 buttons total, blue and a red button. And it has the sides, which is one for charging, and this is an HDMI out, and then it has the SD card. And you have the thing attaches to the stand. Pull that, the battery comes out. Yep, battery comes out from there.
Battery is like 50% of the volume of the thing.
And then the back, this is a touchscreen. So then it has its own built-in software with features, and you can change scenes and change all these settings. You know what I needed a manual for? I was able to do everything myself. Just boop, 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 boop. Everything was fine.
Did you not turn it on?
I didn't know how to record.
Yeah. The one thing that you got it for?
Yeah. I couldn't figure out how to... how do you record on this?
Do you say record?
No.
I was just going with the dumbest thing.
You press the blue button.
Not the red one.
No, not the fucking red one. The record button we've had for almost close to 200 years now.
I can kind of see, like, they're going for, like, blue is an affirmative color and red is a negative color. So, like, that'd be start and stop. But clearly, yeah, like, the record thing has always been a red circle.
Yes.
And that's even a red circle.
Yes.
It's not a filled-in red circle.
You know what this does? Turns on the power.
Turns on the power.
That's it.
So there's just a power button.
It's just a power
button. And
you know what you could have did? You could have put a power symbol on here, and it would have made it 100% easier for me.
Just have one of the buttons be REC dot,
but instead
and make one of the buttons circle with line through it.
But instead, you just took 2 PlayStation buttons and put them on my fucking
power symbol like supposed to be binary. Is it supposed to be the 1 and a 0?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's to show a state of on or off.
Yeah.
Same with the back of your computer. When you look at the power switch, one's a 1 and the other's a 0.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pointless because most people don't know binary, so I don't know why they did. Okay.
I think a decent number of people know what binary means. Or at least on the level of knowing what 1 and 0 are.
Now they do because it's been shown on that.
I think that's something people know about.
But when it first came out, people were like, I guess the I means I'm ready to use this. And
excuse me, the Flight of the Conchords have used binary as a joke. That means everyone knows it now.
You know what? I think whenever I ask people about what the O and the I usually mean, it's a 1, but I say I because
to poison the well.
Yeah,
just to corrupt their answer,
to corrupt people
by misleading them in their question.
Well, I picked it up because a lot of people I talked to called it the O and the I.
In their mind, they're like, "Oh shit, I thought it was a 1, but he said I. I've got to rethink this through."
But I ask them what the back means. They're like, I don't know what the I means, but O means off. I was like, you fucking, like, you're lucky.
Have you considered that the I means the opposite of the off button?
No, but I'm saying, like, you're lucky that it works that way. You're lucky it's a 0, so it can stand for off. Because if we put an X, you'd be screwed. You'd be like, oh, X or I don't know, like.
Also, why would O stand for off when on is also an O?
Right? It's weird. Are
you sure they think it stands for it for the letter as opposed to being a 0?
No, they don't know it's a 0.
But
people call it I and O.
Start with O.
People think it's an IO, not 1 and 0.
Viewer questions.
So we have a handful. No, I did. We have a handful of viewer questions actually. Let's get to them. This is from Crystal Minds. Yo, Keith and Andrew. Figure I'd ask a few random questions since you guys were dried out on those. For both of you, have you ever been interested in anything VR?
Is that the whole question?
No, there's multiple other
Well,
ones.
I mean, is that the end of
Yes, that's the end of the question.
It cuts off there.
Yeah. Have you ever been interested in anything VR?
I like toys.
Okay.
Given literally all barriers to entry are removed, I like additional electronic toys and to play with them. So, there are video games exclusive to VR, some of which are bound to be interesting and good.
Yeah.
Because that's how all platforms work. And also, it's a new video game toy to play with. But it's horrifyingly expensive and can literally not be used in many living spaces people actually have.
Yeah.
And that kind of problem is so beyond the scale of any other problems introduced by any video game ever.
To a degree, yeah.
Well, besides weird fringe stuff like Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
What's that? You live in a bad city for Pokemon Go? Better move so you can have the proper Pokemon Go experience.
Well, it is a good way to get people to move to a city.
That was my experience, yeah. That was the whole story. It's I went to fucking Pismo Beach, and I'm like, this is like a paradise for this game.
Yeah.
Every 5 feet is another Pokestop and another gym, and the entire beach is covered in landmarks and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the game is populated. And then in my whole neighborhood, there's that's the Pokestop. Then you spin the camera around. It's it's just roads.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Because you live in a suburban area.
Yeah, and VR, in addition to being really expensive, and also needing an expensive computer too. Because you need near the top of the line stuff. You need at least a minimum of a 1070 is I think what they asked for. 1060.
You can use it with a 1060 if you have the 1060.
Yeah, but we go to my Discord and we're it's full of people being like, yeah, I can't run anything ever when they talk about their computers.
Well, younger, yeah, it's not meant for younger people.
People wanting VR have to invest in a full new proper expensive PC. Then buy a VR headset that's $600 to $1,000, depending on which one you're. $400 to $1,000 or whatever. It's
$500 for base.
There's no cheap one in that range.
No. Well,
and that's talking about PSVR.
Yeah.
And then in addition to all that, then you have to deal with having a large open area and then also kind of customizing it in many cases to help the game work. And it's there's so few opportunities. Weren't you and Mac? Because you and Mac did it in this room.
Yeah, we do it in this room.
And you were isn't that still with less than what you're supposed to have, basically?
Not with this setup.
It's a bit confined.
So that's the reason it's set up this way, is because it works with VR. It is noteworthy
that you guys look at this room. This is a big square room with these tiny desks crammed into the corner.
Yeah.
And that's all the floor space used in this room.
Yes.
It's just a wide open, empty room.
And it exists because of VR.
Yeah, it's because VR is so brutal to use. Whereas a lot of people do their video gaming in their living room.
Yeah.
There's couches and tables and shit. And it's even if you move everything out of the way or even out of the room entirely, you might find the room itself still isn't the size that they want. In my case, I have my work computer and my library of books and games and counters covered in video game consoles and my bed and all of my belongings all in a 10 by 10 space.
Yeah,
and that 10 by 10 space is the VR space they demand.
Yeah.
So I'd literally have to not have any belongings to have VR.
Well, you just need an extra room. Why are you so poor?
Or I need a hyper expensive I need to customize my bed to fold up against the wall.
Yeah, so
which admittedly is kind of a cool thing whenever I see it, but I'm not doing VR. I'm not doing house mods to somebody else's house.
VR is not meant for people who live in a studio apartment.
No,
VR is for people who own a home and can dedicate a separate room.
Which I'm sure it's making it really popular in Japan.
It is because they don't.
Much living space.
You don't have to set it up to do motion tracking. You could just set it up as a headset.
I imagine in Japan it's more popular in game bars. Go to a place to play VR because that's actually a thing they still have.
Yeah, they have.
And if we still had popular arcades, a lot more people would probably be trying VR.
Oh yeah,
and they actually might be selling better as a result because you could try it at Stars or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
but every arcade is dead unless you're at a casino. Casinos have arcades to entertain the children of all the gamblers that give them all the money.
The arcades are just gambling machines. God.
Yeah, well, some of them are.
Oh, because they're just trying to get kids addicted to gambling.
To an extent, you go to Circus and there's a giant open floor that's just carnival games. And games of air quotes skill that are rigged as fuck to make you lose versus actual gambling games for children. And if you go to the distant corner in the weird covered off room that has the shop door they can close, that's where they keep the real video games. I've been to Circus plenty of times.
Could I play Pac-Man? Why would you play Pac-Man when you can play gambling?
Have you been to Circus in Reno?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a square mile of fucking carnival games.
Yeah.
And you go to that one little shop door and suddenly you're hey, there's Tekken 5 and there's Chronicles of Mystara.
Yeah.
Hey,
have you ever... You've been to Santa Cruz, right?
I don't remember.
Santa Cruz does the same thing. Santa Cruz has all these ticket machines. And then there's a nice little room in the corner, and it's like, hey, you want to play Pac-Man? Just, hey, don't tell anybody. It's
by and large, I don't even know if the video game stuff is that massively profitable, even when they have it. Because like every arcade ever shut down, pretty much, except like
ones at arcade
Dave and
theme
Buster's. Which is a gimmick restaurant thing.
Yeah.
And then also like the ones that are in theme parks.
But Dave and Buster's
already like they're taking your money like crazy anyway. Yeah, sure. Come all the way into our theme park to play Tekken. You're weirdo.
Santa Cruz is free. And remember that. Santa Cruz is free to go on to the boardwalk.
I was thinking like I think there's like an arcade at like Marine World and shit.
There is.
But then like for casinos, I think the arcade's probably not even profitable or like, not noteworthy in its profitableness. I think it's really just if you have the arcade and the other people don't, then the people that have kids are like, here, kids, be unattended over here while I do my gambling problem. Yeah. And then they gamble all day while their kids just play Alien vs. Predator for the 20th time.
Sounds like a fun childhood you had, Keith.
You get that Dig Dug theme stuck in your head at some point, I'll tell you that.
You say that. You know what I did as a kid? I went on a cruise ship, and there was a whole floor dedicated to an arcade. I never left that arcade.
I think I've seriously beaten Time Crisis 2 100 times.
I beat Rampage on a cruise ship. Because, well, I mean, yeah.
Also, do you have any idea how good Die Hard is? Die Hard Arcade is so good. The one that has nothing to do with Die Hard.
Yeah.
The one that they just called Die Hard.
Yeah.
And they're like, he looks kind of like John McClane. Fuck it. Even though it's clearly a full head of hair.
Excuse you.
Well-known, not bald
John
actor.
McClane had a full head of hair. Don't be an ass.
At some point.
In the first Die Hard movie.
He never had a full head of hair.
Yes, he did.
No.
First Die Hard, he had a full head of hair.
No. He still doesn't look like John McClane at all.
It's not because of his hair.
You need to find us a ROM of that game so we can play that before you leave.
It's
That's the dumbest shit. Because we need to play Die Hard Arcade. It's like Fighting Force. It's just like the same brand of like, let's do this. It's just dumb 3D beaten up era of video games.
Just a beat 'em up. For me, VR. I am interested in the potential. I'm interested in the potential benefits of VR, which is I think VR has the ability to enhance or enrich certain people's lives. Like specifically, I really love VR games, but VR experiences, the ones that take you on like on a roller coaster, ones that take you on a walk through a park, things like that are really amazing because it gives people with like disabilities or people unable to afford to go and do those things the chance to go visit places they may not be able to go, and that's something that you can't replicate on a screen and TV. Like
it's real cool being able to like. Just like teleport to the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
The fuck. And being able to just seeing this impossible thing like to scale.
And you're seeing it as if you're there because you can move your head and look. It's not like National Geographic where it's a nice drone camera
like when people
pan.
talk about one of the most popular parts of VR being Google Earth.
Yeah. It's so much fun. Granted, that's not what anybody wants. They just want to shoot people.
To this day, I've never even seen VR.
Really?
Yeah.
It's
like I've literally never worn a headset.
I've shot a lot of people.
I've never worn a single VR headset. I've never seen what it looks like. Period. Not even the gimmick ones that were at arcades for the longest time, where they had a really expensive looking, prohibitive looking booth set up to try to get you to play like Tekken VR or some shit in like the mid 2000s.
The popular one was the tank one.
You have to like stand in a circle and try to like kick, and your character would try to kick, and it was all awkward and all those things that are happening. I've never played a single VR anything. Not even the red one.
The red one?
The Virtual Boy.
The Virtual Boy? Well, there was a little bit before your time there, bud.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine your parents weren't going to buy one, and I don't think you were old enough to go to E3.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, if I have forward momentum and get a good living space and decent income, then it's just inevitable for me to have VR because it's the thing I can do content on. It's like how I treat buying consoles as inevitable. It's like, I got this new console, it's like, and now I have it, and now I can cover that thing because
my job wills it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just one of the problems of like it's one of the few gaming peripherals, I guess you could call it, that require more than what the average person can usually provide.
And there's just a few things, in addition to the really prohibitive stuff I talked about before, there's a few things that just make it really indecisive.
Or unappealing.
there's the part where they keep making they keep iterating, and like when there's like a feeling of like, when is it time? Because like when people were first jumping on it, they were literally called dev kits. They weren't even meant to be consumer products yet, and that was when everyone was hopping on VR at first.
Yeah.
So that like there's a whole step-by-step thing of like, when exactly is like the sort of definitive, at least for a while, like actual proper audience experience. Then you have the thing of like fucking exclusives.
Oh yeah.
It's like now, if you want the full VR experience, the way that you'd want to have like be able to play all the video games in general, like there's 3 now. There's an Oculus, a Vive, and a PSVR. Not counting that they're also working on like other ones too at this point from other branches, and all of them have exclusives.
Yeah,
and it's like, fuck. Because like that means on top of all the other prohibitive shit, you're talking about buying 3 VR headsets.
No, that's not worth it.
It's not worth it. No, but I'm talking about the fact that that's if you handle it the way you used to handle consoles. Well, now you've got like essentially the 3 most expensive consoles of all time all coming out. Yeah, because they're horribly expensive even for viewer exclusives. But it adds another pause to you trying to choose one in the first place and stuff like that. And it's frustrating.
I would always just pick the Vive. The Vive is the most commonly, like almost every game except for exclusives work for the Vive.
Yeah, but the Vive's sold out.
Yeah, well, of course it is, because it's the best one.
It's literally sold out.
Like, you're not going to buy
I had a moment of weakness where I almost bought a VR headset. I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, they made the old one cheaper and the new one's out that's way expensive. Like, and then I look at the one, it's literally just sold out. I'm like, all right, well, that decision's made for me for a while anyway.
And honestly, the old one, I would say right now is the best time to buy it in terms of like progressive style. Like, you're worried about it being outdated or something.
PC exclusives are so frustrating, by the way.
I can't imagine. I cannot believe someone did that. I can't believe someone showed up and was like,
PSVR having exclusives, because it's
on a console.
They're just PS4 exclusives.
Yeah.
It's like having Move exclusives. They're on the PS4. That's how consoles work. Yeah. But there's exclusive division between PC VR headsets. And it's like, fuck off. I already have to deal with the fact that the headset itself is like morbidly expensive, and then when you get to like the Steam pages for the games on that set, they're always more expensive than they would be if they weren't VR games.
Oh yeah,
they're always like Project Sylphfleet or whatever it was called, episode 1. That one I linked you at one point. That's like a VR puzzle experience. A lot of those games are like 2 hours long, and they're often $40 to $60. And it's like, I already bought the VR headset, guys. Give me a fucking break here.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They need to do that because it's this like really scummy cycle where they're
making an increasingly expensive product for a smaller group of audience.
Yeah.
So they're trying to make their money back by making it more expensive.
Yes.
Which just makes it a more unappealing field because of how expensive every game is.
Weirdly enough, it's the developers that are killing their own platform.
And it's a mixed thing where like on one level they're both right and wrong. Because like,
I think
they could make cheaper games, but then that has trouble selling the VR experience people want in the first place. But if they make the games more expensive, like asset-wise, then they become more expensive price-wise in order to try to recoup the losses.
Yeah.
And people always are pushing for more graphics, but they're pushing it on a platform where the graphics are even more expensive than ever before. And that's an audience thing too.
I mean, like,
it's always part of the audience's fault on this one, because like every time, and I know this because I fucking run a channel. Like every time I play a classic game, or even a game that's just kind of indie, or I play Patreon nominates a game that is like from 10 years ago or whatever, there's always that handful of people that are just furious at this like indie garbage or this like horrible looking terrible video game and stuff like that. Like I'm playing Beyond Good and Evil right now, and there's people that are like hate how it looks, and I'm like, it honestly almost looks modern. I'm not saying like it looks like a AAA modern game, but I mean like there are games could come out right now that look really similar to Beyond Good and Evil, like aesthetically. And I'm totally cool with that. But there's people that are like, no, I need better graphics. And like, well, that's why you're going to get microtransactions and pre-order bonuses and season passes and online passes and monthly fees.
Out of curiosity,
episodic DLC.
When did that happen?
And you're going to have to pay $150 for the full experience, like Call of Duty.
Who do you think is to blame for that?
It's both.
No, but I mean,
it's a feedback cycle, because the developers and especially publishers like need a thing to sell, and a thing to tout. So blast processing, like you're always just arguing about the next cool thing. That's why your thing is better. But then also the audience on one level, some of the audience probably already does just want things to keep increasing.
Yeah.
But also some of them are just hearing those things and then like internalizing them and then feeding them back out. Because they're used to being told about better and better and better. So now they want better and better and better.
Well, that's the thing. And I'm more specifically talking about when did the mindset come in that video games as an entire genre has to be graphically impressive.
I don't know.
When did that? Because that's never been the case. It is a visual
medium, but
it doesn't have to be
for
fucking.
Me, the frustrating thing is like graphically impressive isn't the same thing. Or like something that looks good isn't the same thing as it being like incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
Now, and actually, like the more things keep getting like better looking, the more I get the more I keep getting less interested in looking at it.
Yeah.
And also the gameplay I think often suffers for it.
It does.
But like.
Because your budget is clearly being put into something else.
Yeah. But like I expressed this frustration with Horizon Zero Dawn and also preemptively about God of War is just like I look at like The Order 1886 and Uncharted and Gears of War and Horizon Zero Dawn and God of War and stuff like that. And I'm like all these third person cinematic camera video games. And in particular with Horizon Zero Dawn and Gears of War, I was like squinting at it at times like, is it the same game? Like I was like, obviously the character that's in that one part of the screen they're always in is different looking, but I'm like, aesthetically, there's so many similarities between how the graphics are rendered and how the camera pans and how the layout of the kind of open world, kind of not open world thing around you is, and how the character moves and how their animations completing properly is more important than them being responsive as things you control with a controller and all these other things. I'm like, they're kind of just becoming the all game, kind of like how for a while Ubisoft's games all merged into one game for a while. They did, all the PlayStation exclusive third person cinematic action games are all sort of merging into one game. It feels, and they're just boring to look at.
The thing is, you brought up God of War. That's a good example. Is that one of my biggest complaints about God of War is for all of the graphics and like every time I hear
God of War also looks like a game where the camera in no way actually helps with playing it.
It doesn't. So here's my point, is that every time I hear people talk about God of War, it's always, oh my God, the best game. It's so good. It's masterful.
Which, like, I can't judge God of War, but that's how it's been for me with Horizon Zero Dawn, where I'm just like, I'm confused by the sheer amount of unmitigated praise.
But you ask people,
a game that I was like, it's fine.
You ask people, what?
Horizon Zero Dawn's fine.
Why would you recommend it? Why would you recommend to me God of War? The story, the graphics, it's so beautiful. Well, is it fun? Yeah, it's fun. You could do things like, is it fun? Specifically fun. And they're like, the combat isn't that important. Is you dumb?
Meanwhile, for me, like one of the most beautiful games ever made is Rock Band 3. I'm like, this game's beautiful. I love looking at the music.
Journey.
We start doing the music videos.
Journey is the most beautiful game I've ever played.
Rock Band 2 had like the "Are You Gonna Be My Girl" music video, where it all turns white and there's the black cables everywhere. How do you
seriously think that that's a beautiful game?
Yeah,
it looks like poop.
No,
on every conceivable level.
No,
because you like if you could control it, like if you could make your own music video, I would like it.
Beatles Rock Band.
The cameras are so shit in Rock Band, it drives me fucking nuts to watch it.
Beatles Rock Band is so enjoyable
because it's always like
to be in.
They're rocking, and I'm like, am I the audience member? Stop moving. Get a fucking giant, like a goddamn camera thing.
Get a camera stabilizer.
Yeah, like Jesus.
Well, you have a pre-existing problem with camera cuts in general and stuff like that. Like I've had the experience of being in the theater with you and like watching The Hobbit, and every time the camera would cut, like ever,
jarring cuts.
You physically threw your arms up in the air.
Jarring cuts are not good. I don't like it when it's like action, cut, and I'm like.
The weird one was
in the middle of something.
The weird one was you walked into my house when I was at my dad's house, and like they were watching a show, just some movie.
Yeah.
And it cut from a scene to another scene, like in the most normal possible way, and you were like, like
no, it wasn't the normal possible way.
And I was like, what is he doing?
Because
I don't understand.
The scene was like in the middle of a conversation, and things were going well in the conversation, and then it just cuts. I was like, what the fuck happened in the conversation? I was listening to that. And then it's like, but this is more important.
I was listening to
and it's
that.
like, what the fuck? It's like if you're like the best way to put it is like, imagine if you were watching a news broadcast and someone's like telling you what's going on in the news, and then it just cuts, like the news broadcast just cuts to a commercial right in the middle of the guy talking, and you're like, did Timmy get out of the well, or did he die? I don't know, because I have to look at this car now. Like, that's what the movie did. And I hate the movies do that so often because they assume you're such an invalid, like some inbred monstrosity that can't just focus for 30 seconds on a fucking scene. If something hangs for just a few seconds, you're like, why is it stopped? Where's the action?
I mean, people prove that right. Did you ever hear the audience reactions to Hateful Eight?
No.
People were not fond of that movie.
Why?
And it's very, very long scenes that were all conversations. That was the most recent Quentin Tarantino movie.
It's called character building.
Also, at that point in his career, I'm like, it's called Tarantino. Have you watched Inglourious Bastards had a scene where somebody ordered a dessert, waited for it, then ate the dessert all over the course of the conversation in that scene. Like that all happened and it all had full continuity.
Everyone wants like Mission Impossible to be every movie, and it's so baffling to me because sometimes I kind of want to be invested into
a character,
the world. And you know what I can't...
That was the problem I had with both Suicide Squad and Rogue One, is that they never develop any characters.
Yeah.
They just keep cutting to the next thing as fast as possible. And it's like, sure, we got to the action part, but I don't know who any of these people are. So, like...
Nor do I care.
Cool.
You know, it's
why is Captain Boomerang here again? So that he could never do anything? Because he never does anything.
The
one time he throws magical. A boomerang, it was like, I'm going to throw a boomerang with a camera on it. Oh, shit, they took it out. Well, that was my one contribution. I'll go home, I guess, guys. Bye-bye.
I don't know.
He was in the whole movie.
It's one of the things that, like, pisses me off so much about American movies. Because, like, animation, at least, like, with anime, they can at least blend it in a more, like, calm and, you know, understandable way. Like, anime doesn't just go like, this is a cool scene, and then just stop doing the cell. They just cut the cell, and now it's a different cell. Like, that would be absurdly awful. It has to blend itself into another scene, which means it has to be a specifically chosen action. Like, the director has to say, I need the scene to blend into this one. With a fucking American movie, it's like, Bob, cut the fucking part out. Okay. And they just cut that out. And there's no, like, they just go on to Premiere and they're like, the fucking dissolve filter. All right, that's fine. Like, that's all they do. And it looks like ass because it wasn't filmed in the way, it wasn't filmed in the idea of transitioning. It was filmed in a way of like, oh, there's supposed to be more here. And then someone just went, no, cut. And so the transition feels jarring.
It's not about the culture. It's about who you watch more.
Well, that too.
Because like Quentin Tarantino and Edgar Wright are like, they're taking this shit seriously.
But don't they also have more hands-on with
they do the thing.
Yeah.
Like they're in on this thing.
Well, like someone editing a Marvel movie isn't going, like a director of a Marvel movie doesn't go to the editing platform and see what's going on. That was also
part of the joy. That was to some extent part of the joy of like Last Jedi too, is it was a movie that we had that was written and directed by the same person. And it's like this one person's like, he's running the show. He's the only person besides George Lucas to ever do that, write and direct a Star Wars movie. Yeah. And he's the guy he's the guy that directed the best episodes of Breaking Bad, which you don't relate to at all. But like,
that's a thing.
When you can imagine by the time shit was going, because you know that they were at least setting up a bunch of climactic plot points.
I know the whole plot
going on
of Breaking Bad.
And by the end of the show, when the shit was going down in that show, he was directing those episodes.
That's a good idea.
Like this guy, and then he did Looper, and then he did Last Jedi.
It's just,
which you have plenty of reasons to hate him because he's making a Star Wars movie which you're not fond of, and he did a Bruce Willis thing which you weren't fond of, and also you hate Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I did just start.
Deaf ears.
I should probably finish this question. So, secondly, for Andrew, have you ever watched Hunter x Hunter? And if so, what is your opinion on it? Same question for both Fullmetal Alchemist and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. I guess.
What's your opinion on Fullmetal Alchemist?
Yeah. I mean, you can obviously answer Fullmetal Alchemist since you've seen that as well. And then, so let's see. Hunter x Hunter, I would like it more if they took it away from the guy who makes it. He's a piece of shit, and I hate him. And that's not a hot take. He's genuinely a piece of shit, and he should genuinely be hated. He refuses to work. Like, just refuses to do his one fucking job, which is write a goddamn story, asshole. That's all you have to do. No one's asking you for anything more. Just write the fucking story. And he's
does he just have to write the story, or does he have to draw the story?
I mean, I guess he has to draw it. I say that very loosely because there are clearly some pages he just doesn't draw. And then he submits it as if it's okay.
It's like the Attack on Titan artist.
Yes.
Like he just has like really low quality stuff, and then the anime studio has to just try to make something out of it.
See, here's the thing. The Attack on Titan guy, the reason it's so bad is because he's never been a good artist. That's just been his thing. He's never been a good artist. He just happened to have a good idea.
Which is interesting because the show is so visually engaging.
You have to. If you took his art, it would be a monstrosity.
No, I mean it's a trip that comes from that.
Yeah, but the thing is that and another thing with Attack on Titan is that this is technically his first big role ever in making a manga. So he still has to, well, he should be adjusted by now.
Figure out how to even do that.
In the beginning, he needed to adjust to like the scheduling, the timing. He made monthly, so he had to make 30 pages, not 18. There's a lot more that went on. Hunter x Hunter guy, he made Yu Yu Hakusho. This fucking scumlord is not new to the business, but he decided to be an ass about it like he's never done it before. And you know why? It's because he could sit there with his stupid fucking wife who made Sailor Moon making all this fat money, and he doesn't have to work because, well, my wife's fucking rich. I don't have to do anything. Yu Yu Hakusho is super popular. I'm also kind of rich. I don't have to work. Hunter x Hunter is just for funsies. But then you look...
So you want them to take it from him and like have somebody else run it or something?
No,
isn't that what you normally argue against?
Well, yeah, except for in this case, he's actively... He had, like, the Berserk guy, for instance. He has carpal tunnel. I'll give him a lead.
He makes a horrifyingly intensive manga.
It's beautiful looking, yes. But the point is that
there's like more ink than not ink on the paper.
That man is just a treasure to Japan. But the thing is that he has actually he has a reason to not just make manga every fucking day. Obviously, he has to take time to rest his poor little fucked up arm. But like Hunter x Hunter guy has no physical impurities. He has no mental impurities. He has no monetary impurities.
Whenever there's a manga that has high quality art, I'm always like blown away and impressed by how much volume there might be at some point.
Yeah.
Like I just look at I have like my Junji Ito collection that keeps growing. Yeah. And I'm like, on some level, like it's more impressive. Well, I mean, it just is more impressive on like a work level than like a novel of the same size. Because a novel is just text. And, I can fucking pump out text. Like, sure, there's a bunch of editing and other stuff like that, but like, and then like writing is not just easy on its own, but like having to physically draw out in detail every single page of your story forever for hundreds of pages. Like, I look at the volume of my Junji Ito collection so far, which is just the horror stuff, and it's like, I think it's bigger than a Harry Potter collection would be. Like, it's all, every single page is like 8 panels ish of like high detailed, hand drawn and hand inked like stuff. I'm like, fuck, that sounds hard. To put it
in perspective, imagine, say, for instance, a comic book. You go and read a comic book. Mm-hmm. There's one thing you'll notice that's very important. The artist and the writer
are different people. In Western comics, a lot.
All the time. And you know why that is?
Is because every single Walking Dead is Robert Kirkman and the other guy.
Yeah. And the reason...
I never remember his name.
And the reason they do that...
It's changed so much, though, over the course of it. I don't know if it's one person or not, or if it's changed.
And granted, you'll see webcomics where it's not like that. Usually, like, if you see webcomics, they do all of it themselves.
Webcomics are often self-made. Like Kill 6 Billion Demons.
Yeah. But
have you read that?
Yeah, Mode has linked it to me enough.
That's some neat shit.
But same with Ava's Demons, or Ava's whatever. I think it's Ava's Demon. But the problem, the thing is that with Western, the Western comic books and stuff, they do that because it's kind of hard to be a writer, a director, and an artist.
Yeah,
because you have
also a decent number of things just come out better when they're collaborative.
Yeah,
and you bounce ideas off each other and figure out how things work, as opposed to just reading it and have to deal with your own self doubts forever and everything.
But that's not how it works in manga. There's some times where there's 2 people working on stuff. That like Death Note. Death Note is made by 2 people. One guy writes it, one guy draws it. It's fine.
And the guy that drew it also went and drew All You Need Is Kill.
Yep. They also did Bakuman. They also did Paradise End, I think is another one. But generally, like One Piece, for example, Conan, Detective Conan, for example, Naruto, those are all done by one guy. Just one dude in a room, just And they have
rough because a lot of people can't do both.
No.
It's like there's a lot of people that can draw but can't write.
And so to circle it all back, Hunter x Hunter guy can't. He can't do both. He literally has to do one or the other. And I would rather you just steal it from him, let him write it. I don't care. It's probably easy for him to type something out. He doesn't have to he can sit and do it in bed.
Or just ask him with an audio, like tape him.
Yeah, or just audio or record him. But like someone else has to take the reins because literally in the years that Hunter x Hunter's been in print, it's been on hiatus longer than it's been in print. So in its fun. So yeah, more than 60% of its runtime in Jump has been hiatus. To put in perspective, if literally any motherfucking asshole besides the One Piece or Naruto guy or Bleach did that, go on. They would have just thrown you out the street. And the only reason they do it is because he has that stupid Yu Yu Hakusho name attached to him. And I'm going to tell you a hot take. Wasn't even that good of a show. So, yeah. Hunter x Hunter, though... The fucking Joey of the 80s. Like, God, I swear to... Yeah, Urameshi, what you doing?
Every time I encounter that show again, it's just another pinup of the four characters posing like they're on an album cover. Yeah. Just over and over again.
And they're drawn perfectly for it. Just perfectly for it. You have the guy with the long flowing hair.
They look like a boy band where each of them's four different, like, kind of different body types that appeal to different forms of attractiveness and everything. Yeah. Like, they're exactly like the Backstreet Boys or NSYNC or something.
You have, like, the brooding boy. You have the charming boy. You have the kind of rough guy.
And then like, you have generic protagonist boy. You have Cyclops.
Yeah. And it's... God, I will say...
You have Cyclops, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, and Gambit.
Kinda, yeah.
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 Boop, boop,
but
boop, boop.
It's... Yeah, but the idea is... Hunter x Hunter as a show isn't... The story isn't bad. I think it has potential. It's fun. The asshole just needs to stop. Like, it's taking too long. Like, for God's sake.
I have some shows that just go on hiatus for years, but... They have the upside usually of being what's that kind of show called? The show where everyone's different. Each season's
episodic.
Different. No.
Oh, each season's different?
Yeah, there's a word for it.
Self-contained?
I don't know what it's called. It's a word they also use to describe movies like VHS, where it's like a whole bunch of different things. It's not an omnibus. It's something else.
Okay.
Anthology. He does anthology. They do a lot of the shows that I watch that are annoyingly on hiatus all the time are anthology shows.
Oh, that works.
Where like each season's a new thing anyway, so fuck it. They're just calling it one thing collectively so that they can have a show that gets renewed.
Yeah.
As opposed to having to make a new show every time.
Basically.
Like Fargo.
Yeah.
Although Fargo has one tiny nod each season to connect them timeline-wise, but ultimately they're just 3 storylines so far.
Yeah.
It's a really good show. I really like Fargo.
I have finished season 1 of Westworld.
Oh, yeah?
It's an experience, I'll tell you that much. I need to, like...
Am I going to find out that, shockingly, you don't enjoy a piece of American live-action television?
No, actually, I like it.
Oh, that's astonishing.
Yeah, I like Westworld. I hate just little things about it that they refuse to let go. And I just don't get where they... I
still know absolutely nothing about the show besides that it's like an American West like theme park full of like fully aware, self-aware android things. So people do fucked up things with them, and maybe they're not supposed to be self-aware or something. But like that's of course they are because that's how the drama happens.
Yeah, and so the thing that here's the thing is what actually
like, around the time Westworld was coming out, I was watching another show called Humans. That's about the same premise more or less, except they're like house. Actually, the show Humans is exactly like Detroit. Have you seen Humans?
Yeah.
Like that, I actually enjoyed that show. I enjoyed Humans, but then I played Detroit, and I'm like, is this
a bad version of Humans?
Is this just Humans? Are they just doing Humans where they all have bots that they don't think are self-aware, but then some of them are actually self-aware, and then their rebellion happens? Like note for note, it's the same story, and Humans came out like 4 years before Detroit.
Because David Cage isn't original. Stop defending him.
It's been fun drawing comparisons between things. Like I was playing Life is Strange Before the Storm episodes 1 and 2 and stuff, and I was like, hang on. Is episode 1 of this thing Paper Towns? Is episode 2 of this Will Grayson? Is episode 3 going to be Looking for Alaska? Are all 3 of these books all 3 episodes of this going to be based on John Green books? Just like how the original season was based on, like, was it Catcher in the Rye or something? Like, is that going to keep happening?
Keith, look.
Or like I just played Vampire, and I'm like, Vampire is literally like half the video game Pathologic that came 10 years ago and half the show The Strain, the Guillermo del Toro vampire plague in New York show.
Oh yeah,
like vampire is those 2 things like perfectly, to the point where like I literally did a scene in Vampire that was exactly what they do in The Strain whenever they want to not kill somebody but specifically turn them into like a greater vampire, where they can essentially like regurgitate down their throat. And I'm like, this is I saw this exact scene in a show like last year, and I'm watching it in this game, and I'm like, this is a weird feeling.
Yeah, my complaint about Westworld is actually it's the opposite problem of, or it's the same. I think it's similar to the same problem I had with Mr. Robot, except Westworld kind of gives me enough reprieve that it doesn't bother me compared to Mr. Robot, which is
kind of imploded within the first hour of Mr. Robot. And self-destructed. Because
here's the thing, I only have one gripe when it comes to any show that involves technology.
Be right.
Know what you're talking about. You need to know what you're talking about, and you can argue. Well, you can argue forever about like this technical stuff is boring. No one wants to know about the technical aspects and blah blah blah. And it's like,
that was the David Cage approach, but I think David Cage's approach was also because he didn't have
fucking know.
I think he also didn't have a coherent story.
Well, yeah.
So he couldn't talk about any of the tech stuff because every single detail would contradict the story.
Westworld wants so hard to try to make you feel like this is real, this could happen. Mm-hmm. And they try to do it by, like always showing things or like code or, making it aware, like, oh, it's just like it's just like voice command and all these other robotic things. And it feels, like people will say stuff like, go to analytics mode, go to, and output this data and show me. The problem with this is say for instance, a voice command. There's a million of them. Just a million of different voice commands you can say to people. And like, I think shut off, like just shut down, has 4 different commands, like vocal commands. One of them is literally a quote, just a literary quote that you could just say.
Is the issue that people just keep not shutting things down when they should be able to?
No, the problem is no one would build a system that way because you have to program it. So you think about it in a programming aspect. If I wrote 4 different fucking commands to do the same function, it becomes kind of redundant when I want to change one aspect of that function. So say, for instance, I change how voice commands work.
I mean, that is how voice commands work, though.
No.
Like when they were doing like the Xbox Connect stuff and shit like that, there would be multiple ways of commanding certain things to happen.
Yes, but the way that works is because you have a log list. That's not how it works because the show makes a critical error by showing you the code. And the code is highly inefficient, and so and this is the thing. I
can't believe they showed it.
They showed the code. You know what? Not only I did a Twitter feed or Twitter rant about it. Not only do they show the code, they fucked up the code. They have a string for a voice command, and they didn't include the fucking code.
Looked at the code.
Yes, they included the code, but they included a string for the command. For one, they wrote the entire consciousness of robots in like HTML. The fuck?
Sure, why not?
Second of all, they wrote a script for the voice command, but then wrote the function for that command below the script. They closed off the voice command, but didn't include the function in it. So if you say the command, it literally does nothing because you already closed the script.
This is not where I thought we were going.
And that kind of stuff drives me insane because I can't.
For me, that kind of detail doesn't bother me because I won't look at it to begin with, because also like normally the shows aren't even framed in a way where you can reasonably look at it without physically pausing it to like look at it's like the equivalent of like reading newspapers in the show. Like,
yeah,
it's literally a prop you're not supposed to actually be able to stop long enough to look at to realize that it's one paragraph repeating over and over again and stuff like that.
I imagine that's kind of their goal.
Yeah.
But the problem is they have
For me, there's a problem when you play like a David Cage game like Detroit, where it's literally things they set up in the narrative.
Yeah.
Like characters say this is how a thing works, or they show a thing.
Yeah.
Like either show or tell sets up a certain idea, and then the rest of the game refuses to acknowledge that idea when it should be in certain points.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning of the game, Kara orders something off the internet. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, they're all hooked up to the internet. That's never acknowledged ever again for the entire game, including a part of the game where like it depends on someone's life depends on whether or not they could recall a piece of information that would be publicly available on the internet. And we know that these people can pause time at any point because you do that as the player constantly.
Yeah,
you can. It's not like you're not literally pausing time, but you're a computer, so you process stuff faster.
Yeah.
So they have so much time in their brains.
Have Radical 6.
Yeah, in their brains they have so much time to process shit that like. They can just do it. Like they can just pause for a second, look it up online. That's the answer, and then not die of the thing of not knowing the information. And like it drives me crazy, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or like the fact that like later in the game there are like straight up concentration camps for robots where you're like, wait a minute, that's not how you deal with robots, because like they're not people that you need to like, because concentration camps are like there's so many levels of darkness to process there, what actually is involved in the concentration camp, but like you wouldn't round up products to make a special camp to like intern them for a while so they can be like systematically murdered. Like they're not supposed to be people in this story.
Yeah,
it's like it doesn't work.
Just put them in like a shed.
Yeah.
Like, why would you put them in a camp? That makes no sense. Just like shut them down, throw them into a box. Like, what the hell are you doing?
Then you have the massive concerning, just really confusing scene where there's a scene where an android is dumped in this dumping ground of androids. Mm-hmm. And the scene, a lot of these scenes contradict other scenes elsewhere in the narrative, where like they introduce a concept that they ignore throughout the rest of the narrative, and so that when you later in other scenes you're like, but what about the thing they said before? Wouldn't that affect this scene? In this scene that contradicts itself, because there's a dumping ground for androids where they're just throwing entire androids in there, like no big deal, fuck it, get out of here.
Yeah,
you're like their old iPhones or whatever the fuck, but like
all their parts are like still usable.
Yeah, like the android you're playing as has like 2 broken legs and a missing eye and like can't hear and stuff like that, and just takes the parts out of other androids and replaces them on himself. Like it's no big deal.
Yeah,
like they're Legos. Like he doesn't even have tools. He literally just like pulls something out like it's a fucking like to be clear,
it's just plug and play.
Yeah, so we know, like, the level of complexity here is like the RAM expansion for the Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
Where, like, it just slides into that slot and now it's installed. Like, that's the whole process. He takes, like, the eye chunk off someone's face and just puts it on his face, and now he's got heterochromia. Great. Now he's a fucking heterochromia OC. Great.
Oh, no!
Yeah, they did that shit, by the way, where he's fucking has a backstory for why he's heterochromatic and shit. I'm like, God damn it. You made your fucking leader, your perfect fucking character.
Oh, no. Is David Cage a furry?
He has 2 different eye colors. No, he's a Sonic fan, obviously.
Oh, no! Well, it's still furry.
And he's just, like, plopping legs off of people and putting them on himself. I'm like, why are people throwing out these things?
How does height work?
Why? I don't know, but like, why?
Wouldn't your leg, like, isn't this part of your leg considered how like this changes? Or
well, he replaced both of his legs, so maybe that took care of it.
With the same legs?
Oh, wait, there were 2 different robots.
2 different robot legs.
Maybe they can do it.
Is he just hobbling around?
Maybe androids can self-Gattaca.
No.
Like in Gattaca, where he's like, you're the wrong height, so they'd like extend his legs through a horrible procedure. Maybe the androids could just like
don't give him benefit of the doubt.
They got like android hydraulics.
Don't give them an out.
Their height.
No. You cannot swap legs and arms like that, because you would turn into a homunculus. You would look monstrosity, like just hello, and your like one arm's is a tentacle, more or less.
Yeah, but like their parts are so hilariously modular on a level that's never true for any consumer products ever.
Yeah,
that I'm like, if I had an android and it like went bad or whatever the fuck, I would like just take every part off of it to hold on to for like the next android at the very least, or like I'd replace the one broken part, because it's got to be cheaper than replacing the whole thing.
Well, I would figure the only time an android breaks...
There's also a narrative where androids, which are this crazy mega technology, is like the cost of like a video game console, apparently. like in universe, like Kara costs like less than $1,000, I think, and I'm like, bullshit.
Well, because of how modular they are.
What the fuck?
Well, how modular they are, they must be cheap to make.
But even then, it's like it's a little trap where like on one level it's like weird. But the problem for me is it's just not far enough in the future, the game, to justify how cheap that cool technology is. Like,
yeah,
you're talking about like the near future where fully autonomous androids with AI and everything are cheaper than VR. Like, what the fuck? But
I mean, it's a really good. Well, I guess they replaced all the workers with robots, so it's cheaper to produce.
It's really hard to accept that there'd be a giant dumping grounds of full androids when clearly all of those parts are fully useful and valuable.
Yeah,
especially since apparently they make drugs out of android blood. The blue blood, they make drugs out of it. It's like, how is this place not full of hobos, like just pulling all the blood out of all these androids that are just like helplessly sitting around here because they're not self-aware, so they're just like, and also they're all on still, which is fucking creepy. You have this creepy like anthill of androids, like where they're just like flailing around, and half of them are like half buried, and they're like there's just walls of bodies that are still
that would be like a risk. Like,
I don't know. The narrative's all fucked. But like, there's another part where like somebody's on a roof and they've been like fucked up, like they lost blood, or like I think their leg was ruined, and I'm just like, why can't you take them with you? Like, everyone's planning on like skydiving off this roof with like parachutes, and I'm like, okay, so is the issue that his legs are fucked up? So does he need like a better leg to land on? Like, can one of you just take your leg off and give him the leg for a bit? Or like, he's an android, he has a decent chance of surviving if you just throw him off. And like, he might, like, maybe they won't damage the part of it that he needs to survive.
Why
and then you go fix his body. But here's the next thing you're probably thinking of right now, which I'm thinking of, which is like, can't you just take his head off?
That's what I was about to say. Can you just take his fucking head off and hold it with you in your arms when you jump off the building?
I'm like, first of all, I don't know how much rougher a parachute ride is if you just have a second body, or like half of a second body on that given parachute.
Half. It's a fucking ball. You're carrying a ball.
No, I mean like what's left of him at that point in the story. Like, I don't know how much more dangerous it is to ride.
Probably dangerous. Like, it's still weight. Extra weight in a parachute's not ideal.
But I'm like, is it so dangerous that they will literally plummet, or will they just have like a rocky landing? Because they're androids, so they can take a rocky landing, frankly. So it's not that big of a deal.
You can drop him before you get close to landing. Like, he can. I'm sure Android can survive a 5-foot drop.
It's a really weird scenario, and like, as far as I can tell, I think their head can survive on its own, or at least you could take the head and plug it into a body, and it can like wake up again at that point. Like, at some level, it seems possible to just take the head, but they just fucking abandon him, and it's like a choice of like, the choice is whether you shoot him or not. Like, it's like they're trying to contrive. It's really Detroit's an unfortunate game in a lot of ways, and you have to not take it seriously basically to get through it, because like, it's full of like all these moments of like schlock where like like they're trying to do human interactions, like Walking Dead moments, basically. Like the Walking Dead video game moments where like, does this person live or that person live, or do you shoot that person or leave them to their fate and stuff like that? But they're all androids. So like, their inherent mechanics of how they work in the story
is not like humans.
That shit completely. It's like actively a problem.
That's what happens. That's another problem that I have with Westworld too, is that it has that same concept where it tries to make you feel this sense of guilt for what happens to them, but it's like, but they have modular memory. You can literally just wipe that. You can just take out the bad parts and then it's gone forever, unlike humans, which you can't just manually erase certain things. But they act like, no, they'll remember forever. I'm like, that's not how memory works. Like, it's
not how computer memory works.
But it's a machine. It's not like, but that's the thing. They do such a good job in that show of subverting enough to try to we're going to tiptoe around specific details, but we'll give you details that ruin other stuff. Like the voice command thing I had, I was like, I'm so mad. It doesn't make any sense.
You looked at the code.
I was so mad about it, but then they have this throwaway line where they go, like the voice commands. The reason those work is just simply because of one of the programming things. So voice commands just work because you don't even need the coding for that. Excuse me, what? How do you even guarantee the code, the function works that way? You have to, they're robots, you ass. They're not babies. You don't just tell them like green means blue. Like they're not robots like that.
So Fullmetal Alchemist.
Fullmetal Alchemist, I would not recommend the first one. I recommend Brotherhood. I hated original Fullmetal Alchemist. The only thing that was good about the first one was the Nina scene, which is the dog and the girl.
Which is way better in the original.
Oh, absolutely. Because it's the only thing they had to go on, so they had to make it really long.
For the second version, it's like half an episode of story.
Yes.
Like...
Well, the manga was that way too. It wasn't really that important.
Like they took a plot point that was tragic in the manga and they made a storyline out of it.
Yeah,
and that made it so much better.
Yes,
like the entirety of the whole like Edward everything.
Yeah,
like all that stuff that's like constantly quoted on the internet and revisited as being this really hard to watch scene in an anime.
They're talking about the first.
It's completely manufactured from a show that was not in its source material even really properly.
Yeah.
Like it was like. That largely was made for that.
Yes.
I haven't watched either of them a single time since Brotherhood was new.
Okay.
So like I watched Fullmetal Alchemist a bunch on like television because it was on American television.
Yeah.
And then the Brotherhood came out and I watched all the Brotherhood and then I moved on largely.
Yeah.
I like both of them. I prefer the first one. To some extent, I think that there was a weird accidental quality that happened in that because they had to just extrapolate from a story as existed at that time, they got stuck with a smaller cast of characters.
Yeah.
And so they just had to stick with those characters and flesh them out and keep going back to them and make the show about them, which
yes.
I found actually more compelling than the other show, which the entire cast seems to cycle out every 15 episodes. In particular, like the moment they finish the divergent between the two shows, where it's like episode like 14 or whatever the fuck is the one where like specifically is like where they finished the part that was the part where the two shows were similar.
You're talking about when they finished doing the Philosopher's Stone sacrifice, which was in the original Metal Gear or the original Fullmetal Alchemist. It ended with them showing up, and then them when it happened, it created a portal to World War II.
No, you're talking about the end of the show.
That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm talking about the end of the two shows being similar. There's a specific mark where you can hit the exact point where it's when the first show stopped adapting the manga.
That's the Barry scene, I want to say.
It's like 14 or 10 episodes in or something.
I want to say that's Barry. That's the...
Boy, is there whiplash. Like...
to what degree?
When you're watching the Brotherhood show, when you're used to the original show, the experience is that weirdly you're watching a fast-forward version of the original show.
Yeah.
Because everything's happening weirdly fast for some reason, and it's like jarring constant. Like entire plot points come and go over the course of 5 minutes, it seems. Like they're trying to just get through it faster, which is not the best thing to do if you're trying to stand alone as an adaptation. But then literally the next episode where they stopped adapting the same stuff, the Brotherhood show is like, and here's a bunch of characters from the Far East, and the cast completely changes, and every character that you're familiar with dies. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then the show just becomes a completely different, like the two diverge so wildly and hilariously.
Oh, yeah.
Like stuff happens, like Lust just dies immediately, and you're like, oh, Lust is dead. Okay. And like many of the homunculi are completely replaced.
Lust doesn't die. Wait.
If I remember correctly, in Brotherhood, several of the homunculi are replaced early in the show.
No.
Several entire characters die. Like a dozen characters are just introduced that are only in that version that aren't in the other one.
Yes.
It wildly diverges very quickly.
None of the homunculi die
half the homunculi are different people, of course.
Well, yeah, none of the homunculi die until the end of the show.
I think Lust dies.
Lust does not die.
I think Lust dies like weirdly early.
Nope, she does not.
Whereas Lust was in the entire
Lust was killed by Colonel Mustang in near the end of the show after he was already blinded. He killed her by literally...
By the way, it's a real headache trying to separate these two stories in your head.
Yeah. It was a really brutal death where he kept burning her alive every time she regenerated, so she had no chance to like do anything except for like, okay, my skin's back and burn your eyes out. And it's like, and burn this. And she he kept doing it until she ran out of regenerations and died. He did the same thing to Envy to an extent, except it was more brutal, where I think with if I remember correctly, with Envy, he continued, that was before he lost his eyesight, and I think he continually kept burning her eyes out and then then stabbing her. Basically, he kept like doing it to the point of just like kind of making her suffer because of killing what's his face? Hughes, because remember Envy was the one who killed Hughes. Lust Because
Yeah, I'm right.
What?
It's only episode 19. Lust dying. It's like the beginning of it. It's super early.
No, I thought that was...
That's why it's so jarring.
19?
Yeah, episode 19.
I thought that was at the end in the sewers.
Yeah, I think you might be thinking of the first show.
No, that's... Wait, are you talking about Brotherhood?
Yeah, Brotherhood. She dies in episode 19.
I could have sworn that she died at the end mark. Wait, how...
And I have more particular memory of this stuff because I was more attached to the first show, so all the jarring differences were like really apparent. I was like, oh, that entire characters that I'm think of as being like show length characters just disappear entirely and stuff like that. Is Hughes a thing in both shows?
Yes.
The way that the sad thing.
Yes.
Is that both?
Hughes dies to the same person. Wait. Oh no. See. God damn it, Keith. You fucking. What? Because what's the name of that episode?
Death of the Undying.
Where is it? Yeah, that's the end of season 1. Yeah. That's inside because advance the full father for the grave.
You're saying it was the end of the show.
Yeah, I thought it's the end of season 1. That was my mistake. Wait, why does...
I don't know what the fucking seasons are. But,
I got confused.
But it's like the FMA shows are at least like 50 plus episodes, and she's dead in 19. That's early, especially when the divergence just happened like 4 episodes ago between the two shows. Like that's like in the span of like 4 episodes of this being like, now we're doing the Brotherhood stuff. It's like, oh, there goes that character, there goes that character, there goes that character. Hey, here's these new characters. I'm like, okay, here we go. There's also entire storylines that I do enjoy from the first show that just aren't in the second one because, you know, they're not from the thing.
Yeah,
I like the imposters.
I got confused. I was thinking of I got confused with Envy and Lust because they both get killed by Mustang and they both get killed at the same point.
I enjoy like the imposters, for example. The Elric, the fake Elric brothers that fulfill the narrative of what the Elric brothers are supposed to be. Because there's the whole reputation they have, and then every time anyone meets them, they're like, "You guys." Yeah. It's always the thing in that show. So then they go to a town where there's people pretending to be them that actually fit the description of what people think the Elric brothers are like and stuff. I like both of them. I always found myself preferring the first one. But there's also another question here, which is it could also be some of the subs versus dubs like preferences and stuff like that. Because when I watched them, I had fully available English dubs for the original show and all Japanese for for Brotherhood.
Oh, you watch all Brotherhood in Japanese?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm familiar because I was watching it on YouTube. It came out officially on YouTube via Funimation or whatever the fuck. They just put it out, and I had to watch the same Cracker commercial over and over again while I was going through it because it was the YouTube era where like one commercial would repeat and that'd be the only one you were getting. I watched the entirety of it there because it was just available. I'm like, all right, cool.
Okay.
And like, I don't know. It might have affected my impression a bit more if I at the time had watched Brotherhood with the voice cast from the original show, which I think they did afterwards.
Yeah.
Because
I have the Blu-rays.
Like in my head, I'm just used to that voice for Ed.
Yeah,
stuff like that. The same one that showed up in Ruby. That guy.
I hate that guy. He's also in Soul Eater and a few other stuff. He's like the most. Oh God, I just forgot his name. Rick Manana.
Anyway, what's the next question?
I think that was his name, but I would I like
Montoya.
I like Brotherhood. I think Brotherhood had a lot of good stuff. Last question is let's see. Lastly, out of shits and giggles, do you think you guys would be interested in playing Fallout 76 together? That's a maybe.
I don't know anything about that game.
I would actually not play it, but that's just me personally.
You're just doing the repeat of how I always say maybe to everything.
I would say
it's like people are just asking questions about games. I'm like,
all I can say is maybe, but personally, I do not want to play Fallout 76.
Yeah.
It does not look appealing to me, and
I'll probably end up playing it with Wander and Bird and Durf just as because that's our pattern. Is just to play multiplayer games, and frankly, even if it's garbage, we'd probably get some time out of that and be fine. Are you checking whether it stopped recording?
Yeah, because someone called me.
And you were worried.
Yeah, and I want to make sure it didn't stop recording. Okay.
I don't know. I have no opinion on Fallout 76 just because I literally have ignored it.
Yep.
Like my response, I have not watched E3 still.
I mean, that's still
like
fine.
All these games, like as these games come out, I'll pay more attention to them. But I can't deal with this like just dedicate a week to obsessing over stuff that might never come out and stuff like that, just so you can get hyped for things that like. It's rather poignant that today is the day that multiplayer is added to No Man's Sky for me to talk about that, for example.
Yeah.
Exactly 1 week after I talked about how I was right on that podcast about No Man's Sky, 1 week later is the week they're adding multiplayer in a patch, like 3 years later.
There you go.
I will say that it's really funny and narrative breaking that they're like, now you can just launch nuclear weapons and yeah, it's like, are you familiar with Fallout as a franchise? Or its inspiring series Wasteland? Like literally the entirety of Wasteland 2 is struggling over who has control over a nuclear weapon. That's like the plot.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so universe breaking to be like, woohoo, PUBG, bombs are fun, I got the nuke this time, and just like exploding shit, and it's like what franchise do you think you have here?
I mean,
it's like you might as well just break it entirely and give it like the Overwatch and TF2 like cartoony characters look, just as fully separated from the implied universe of the rest of the game, so we don't have to try to take it seriously.
But it wouldn't be Fallout
like,
then.
None of it's fitting.
That's not what the Fallout fans want.
It would be a spin-off, which is what it should be treated as anyway, probably. I'm pretty sure that they're full of shit when they claim that like it'll be a full Fallout single player experience. I'm pretty sure that's a lie. Like just a lie.
Yeah.
Altogether.
I mean Fallout's never been really good to me since 3, so
I mean, I can imagine it might be a State of Decay 2 style, like utter decay of quality compared to the previous ones, because for the sake of making a multiplayer work, basically.
My more pressing issue was just like whoever was asking for this is probably not the best person to listen to.
Man, Fallout, that's a franchise that's in a state of decay.
Yeah. Let's see. We can do another question from Colonel RPG. If you were offered the chance to play a character in a movie, no matter which one, which character would it be?
What?
If you were offered a chance to play a character...
No, wait, I'm sorry. I'm trying to process. They're saying play a character.
As in, like, if you...
They mean acting.
Yes.
Okay. I thought they meant be a character, and I'm like, you don't want to be in a movie or a video game. They're all stories about strife and struggle and bad things happening. Yeah. Like, there's not a lot of happy narratives generally.
I think he's saying play a character in acting. Yeah.
Acting?
Well, like, is there a character that you feel like you could play that role really well and it would be fun?
I mean, no, because I'm not an actor.
Jesus
just
Christ!
Like a hypothetical magic situation where I just am good.
You're like arguing against like. You argue for it's fine to suspend your disbelief when watching a show, but you can't suspend it to answer a question. Like, what the fuck hypocrisy is this?
And I'm just like, I don't. Well, I mean, because we're talking about hypotheticals. It's the hypothetical problem in general.
Well, yeah. It's more of just like
the desert island question where you have to ask several other questions in order to figure out how to answer the question.
A better way to ask
talking like, is there a character you just want to magically be that you just want like just snap your fingers and when you watch that movie that's just you in that movie somehow.
I'm thinking of it in like what's a character in a movie that would have been fun to be to play as. Like if I was an actor, would I enjoy playing that character? That's how I take it. Like, is there any character you can think of? I mean, for me,
it's like a hard question to answer because it's like you have to do a lot of like somersaults and shit in your brain to get into the headspace of like being an actor.
Like, that's not the problem. My problem is trying to think of any movie that had a character where I was like, I wish I was that guy.
There's also the feeling of like, am I supposed to go for like what I'm getting out of the experience of being the actor on that set, or am I going for like just
character, like
knowing that the character in that movie was played by me without any of the filming experience?
It's more about it. It's more
like, to some extent. There's a level of like, would you want to just be the actor in that movie because of the cast of that movie and getting to be in that cast and knowing those people for like a year and stuff like that?
I don't think it's that specific. I think he's literally just asking, what's your favorite character in a movie? It's more or less what he's asking, except he's adding the stipulation of you like that character so much that you will be the actor of it now. Don't think about how you act. Don't think about any of that stuff. Just think about what's your favorite character in a movie. You're now that character. That's it.
The Chamberlain from Dark Crystal.
You want to be a puppet?
No, well, it's a voice actor.
Well, okay.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like a fun.
That's fine,
because that's the creepy villainous like sniveling voice character from Dark Crystal.
Okay,
the really creepy one.
Yeah.
Just trying to think of just things, and I'm like,
That's fine.
I'm not really like I fantasize about being that guy in that action. I mean, being a lot of characters in Edgar Wright movies would be nice. Just the fun of that.
I'm trying to think. I probably. God, that is it's such a hard question because
it'd be kind of funny just to be that side character the camera keeps cutting to. That's like Scott Pilgrim's roommate.
Yeah,
like just that kind of minor role, just to say those funny lines here and there, and then the movie happens. That isn't actually even, he's not even in the story.
I guess I wouldn't mind being John McClane from Die Hard.
I knew you'd go there.
It's hard because, like, honestly, I would prefer to be like a villain, but I can't think of any good villain that I would actually want, like in a movie.
On what level? Are you trying to think of like a character that you like, or like physicality of it, or something?
Just all around. Like if it was like
someone you resemble.
If it was a TV show, totally Siler from Heroes. I would play that role in a heartbeat. I would love to be the one that walks around and just murders everyone, and that's what my face is known for. That sounds awesome, but movies aren't like that. Movies are crap.
You could be Siler and I could be Parkman, and then at one point we have to share one body.
I don't want to be Siler anymore.
Siler ends up in Parkman. You can't separate that.
I can, because I just stop.
And then he also goes to Peter Purgatory.
I just stop at season 1.
I mean, there's Harry Potter. That's always just fun.
You want to be Harry Potter?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Why not?
I would definitely.
That's some fun.
I would definitely not choose Harry. I would probably choose like Dumbledore. Because Dumbledore doesn't have to do shit, and he gets to watch kids die on the daily.
Instead of Harry, I'd want to be Lupin.
Okay,
the guy that becomes the werewolf in episode 3, and he's there until like the last movie, and then he dies.
I get that from the name.
Spoilers.
Because a
lot of people die in the last movie.
That subtle name makes it so hard to guess what that character does.
Yeah, it's real. Remus Lupin.
You know what? I hate that. I hate that when there's like. I'll give credit when credit's due sometimes, you know, like there's
just silly names that happen in things.
There's certain times where like, yeah, a story could be complex and there could be things about it that's really good or twists or what. You can't deny
having someone transform into a thing because of a curse, but they were already named.
They were already named that curse. Like, fuck you. That is such a stupid ass thing.
It's like the idea of somebody becoming a vampire, but they were already named Alucard. Yeah. And you're like, what?
Yeah, it's like, or Vlad. Yeah. It's like, oh wow, your name happened to be Vlad. That's so interesting.
It's a real stretch. Then you have people, all these characters in like. There's the Blizzard approach of naming characters, like in the WoW universe, where it's like Malfurion, Stormrage, and I'm like, I'm sorry, your name's Hellscream. Your name's Hell. How do you get hired when that's on a resume?
I mean,
when like your name is like Hellscream.
It's better than Transformer names. Like, I was born as Starscream. What a terrifying name. It's like, my name is Optimus Prime. Like, he went through his whole life. No, I'm sorry. His name was Optimus. And then he got the Prime.
I'll never get over Malfurion Stormrage just being like this mega compound name of like, his name is bad, anger, weather, anger. Like, like it's just like word. I'm like, half those words mean I'm angry. One of them means I'm a bad person. And one of them is a violent storm. And you're like, what the fuck? And and if I remember correctly, he's actually the more even-keeled of the two brothers.
He is,
because his brother's Illidan.
Yeah, his brother's like
also his name, whose name starts with I have like illness, and he becomes inflicted with like a demon sickness thing.
Yeah,
where he becomes the mega villain, and Malfurion's like the more peaceful druid by comparison, if I remember correctly. But his name is like bad, anger, bad. I'm like, what the fuck? What are you doing with these names, Blizzard? What are you doing? Stop it!
I mean, the names are just like
out of control.
They're just ridiculous. How much time we got left?
I don't know.
Not enough for another question.
For television, I like to play Fitz.
Fitz?
From Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Ah.
That's a fun I like that character a lot. Like a lot.
Understandable.
You know who Fitz is because of Marvel, right?
Yup.
Yeah. They did a fun thing where Fitz and Simmons showed up in the current Spider-Man show, and they were voiced by the same actors from S.H.I.E.L.D.
Spider-Man show.
Yeah, there's some Spider-Man. I don't know how many there are. There's probably like 3.
Live
frankly.
action or cartoon?
Cartoon.
Oh, okay.
And in the cartoon Spider-Man, Fitz and Simmons were voiced by the same actors from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's like, yeah, cool. Because like they've never played those characters anywhere else. And also, I don't think those characters are important and popular enough to show up in a lot of adaptations anyway.
No, they're not.
But they showed up in an episode of Spider-Man played by the same actors.
Especially not Fitz.
No.
No.
But Fitz is actually pretty neat in the show that we got, at least, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well,
he's a really well-developed character across the whole thing.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Coulson's like not even real. So
what is that? Wait.
I mean, like as a character, he's not even real. So like,
was Coulson ever in the comics, or what do you mean?
I think Coulson was like
too minor.
I think he was like too minor. Like he's a throwaway guy.
They just used him.
He's a red shirt, basically.
Because the idea is the premise of Coulson in the show, in the movies, was more or less they wanted a character that connected each of the Marvel movies to each other as a universe that they could just plop into all of them easily. That wasn't a high-paid actor that had to keep track of, like Nick Fury or even like the other Avengers. Like
to keep track of,
because or like even you have to deal with like
track of Samuel Jackson's hard. He never leaves his home.
You have to keep track of like, or just pay him to show up in any more than one scene.
Well, he's not like a cheap. He's not a cheap cameo.
Because even if you did Black Widow and Hawkeye, you have to deal with like, okay, now we need to get like. You need to get like Jeremy Renner to do like multiple scenes for like 4 movies to connect these universes. Whereas Coulson, it's like, this is that guy. And he's like, he's fun.
He's just random middle-aged guy.
He's like a cheery, enjoyable character that's like happy to be here and stuff.
I honestly don't think I can't remember Coulson from any other media.
No,
besides Marvel.
I can't remember him being anything before. He just was Coulson one day. It's like what they're usually going for when they cast a Star Wars actor. Yeah, when you're just like Daisy Ridley. I've never. I don't know.
I don't know who Daisy Ridley is.
John Boyega was already in shit. That's spoiled for me.
Which one's that?
John Boyega plays
Finn.
Finn.
Never seen Finn before in my life either.
He was in Attack the Block.
Never seen that.
You should watch that movie. You probably like it.
Is it?
Well, what's your patience for British accents?
Very, very low.
Oh,
I mean, unless it's Doctor Who,
you might have to watch the show with subtitles. Then
I can endure the Doctor, but I can't. Yeah, most of the time
it's very British accents and very not posh British accents. So I've heard people talk about watching the movie with subtitles because they couldn't understand the characters in it. I got through it fine though, but
that's like
it's just people in like a very like it's like a very low cost like apartment building being invaded by aliens.
Okay. So
and, like the alien invasion happens right on that apartment building, and they're just they're like holding up in rooms and shit like that, and fighting things and hiding and running and shit.
All right,
and it's just a fun action movie.
What is that, like recording?
What,
like Wreck?
Like Wreck?
Is it just Wreck? But
it's not super off in premise, but it's not a horror movie.
Well, I'm just saying, is it like the general concept of like these people are trapped in a building and they can't get out?
It's a little bit like Wreck, except it's like a less grim movie. Because Wreck is supposed to be this dark, horrible horror movie. Well, and this is like a thriller. It's like fun. They're weird. The monsters are like vaguely Ben 10 like they're weird monsters. Not Ben 10 like they're way more like weird monsters instead of horror monsters. Like it's very much like they're fighting aliens in a fun movie. Like it's not full Men in Black, but it's not Wreck. I'm just thinking of the weird blobby, knobby looking alien characters that were in Ben 10. I'm like, that's close enough. That's the first thing that comes to mind. I don't know why it comes to my mind because I haven't fucking watched Ben 10 ever.
Ever really?
No, I've just seen.
I watched the original
of characters, and I'm like, it's the aliens. I can't even tell you which aliens are ones he can become, but they're probably all.
They're all the ones wearing his T-shirt.
I guess he can wear 10. I guess he has 10 of them, isn't he? That's the premise of the name.
Well, let's be a little bit like generous.
Aren't you kind of limiting yourself if you just establish all 10 right off the bat, or do they just break the 10 part, or do they not establish all 10 of them early?
So the premise is it's called Ben 10 because he's an idiot.
I thought he was a 10-year-old that could turn into 10 aliens.
No, he's a 10-year-old who fucked up and made it so his watch can only turn into 10 aliens.
Oh.
In reality, his watch can turn into literally an unlimited amount of aliens because it's a watch that has the DNA of every living life form in the universe. But he's an idiot and he goes like, I got a watch. Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop.
Is Ben one of the 10?
What do you mean? Like the human?
Yeah.
Theoretically, yes. Because he put it on, now he is part of the watch.
No, I mean, if he has 10 forms, is one of the 10 Ben? Or is there 11, if you include Ben?
I don't know, because when the show starts, he can't even turn into 10 monsters. Or 10 aliens. Ben 10, I think it's literally just Ben, the 10-year-old, is like the show name, but... Like, because when it starts, he can only turn into like 3 aliens.
Wasn't that the show that had the same animators as like Teen Titans?
Yes.
That's why it stood out to me, I think.
Yes.
It's like how Powerpuff Girls was Dexter's Lab, if I remember correctly.
It was, yes.
And then also
Johnny Bravo
and
Samurai Jack.
Samurai Jack.
Yep.
That always stands out like crazy because you look at Samurai Jack and I'm like, Professor? Like he just looks so much like the professor from Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah.
And he's this like demon slaying samurai guy and you're like, huh?
It's weird, but hot swapping animators wasn't like a unusual thing. It's not like because that guy didn't create those 3 series, he just worked on them.
Yeah.
I think he created,
and they all looked very similar.
I think he created Dexter's Lab for sure. But I think he created Dexter's Lab and Johnny Bravo. I may be getting that wrong. It's like one of the Disney legends where it's like, how many movies of Disney did that one guy work on? Probably all of them. Like, it's like that. But no, Ben 10 pisses me off because Ben 10 was a show that had potential, but they fucked it all up to sell toys. And I was so sad because it was genuinely an interesting show about like, I'm a kid who can just turn into aliens, and there's like an agency that's like, can I take your hand off? I want that watch. And it
got so loud outside.
Yeah.
Your sister's like vacuuming but wanting to hear music over the vacuum.
Yes.
Holy shit.
And is aware of current situation.
Well, it's been 2 hours. It's about time to wrap that up. Send in your questions to SitAndDiscussPodcast@gmail.com.
Yep.
Or
Sit and Discuss Q&A.
Is it? No, that's wrong. Is it Sit and Discuss Podcast or Sit and Discuss Questions?
I don't know.
It's in the description, you fucks. We'll answer your question, and then we'll get off track, and then we'll talk for 30 minutes about other stuff. Then we'll loop back to your question, and then maybe we'll be like, did we do it right? And then we'll move on. That's the format. See you guys later.
Bye.